Hi, everybody.
Hello.
We're the Skeleton Crew, and it is late March. And so this is a natural time for us to record a November Q&A.
We got some Thanksgiving-themed questions.
We do.
Sure did.
Very
And we're
timely.
thankful for them.
For a time that I haven't thought of Thanksgiving for quite a while.
Indeed. It's Patron Q&A time again. In case you're unfamiliar with the concept, a patron is somebody who pays us money every month so that we keep making videos. A question is a statement that's intended to gain new information. It's usually denoted by a punctuation mark at the end. That's different than other punctuation marks. And an answer is a statement that provides you with new information. And when you put that all together, a patron Q&A is when people who pay us money can ask us questions. And specifically, if you pay us money at Basilosaurus tier on our Patreon or higher. And to not be glib, it's really helpful to us that we have patrons, and it enables us to keep doing what we do. And we tremendously appreciate each and every one of you for keeping the channel going. We could not do it without you, and we are very, very appreciative of it. We are so appreciative that we did decide to eventually record this Q&A. And so... and I think we won't belabor it anymore because it's already been delayed by a long time. So, Dalton, question meister,
Yes.
why don't you kick us off?
Should we introduce ourselves?
We don't do that for these.
Okay.
They know who we are.
Yeah, we do, but sure.
Do we?
Yes.
I mean, if you're a patron, all right, fine.
We
I'm Dr.
used
James
to.
Napoli. I'm a research instructor at Stony Brook University.
He's a tired man.
I'm very tired, and I have to fly to Bozeman tomorrow morning at 4 a.m.
You think you're tired?
Yes, I
My
do.
name
I
is
do think
Amelia
I'm tired.
Well, my name is Amelia Zietlow. I'm a PhD candidate at the American Museum of Natural History. But by the time this comes out, I probably won't be, but I don't really know because I don't know what our schedule is because I'm currently literally finishing the dissertation as we speak. It's great. It's so fun to format a document that's over 450 pages long.
My name is Scott Johnston, and I'm the vertebrate paleontology fossil preparator and technician at Harvard University's Museum of Comparative Zoology. And my dissertation is 0 pages, because I got a job without one.
The dream.
He's smarter than all of us, folks.
Yes.
Hi, my name's Alex Rubenstahl. I'm a PhD candidate at Yale University. And remember, kids, the history of all hitherto existing societies is a history of class struggle.
Thank
That's
you,
it.
Professor Alex.
Well, and on that lovely note, I am the monger of the evening for questions. I'm Dalton Meyer. I'm also a PhD candidate at Yale University. Similar to Amelia, if that title is still applicable when this video comes out, I don't know. But it's a cool time to be alive. And it's an even cooler time to answer questions.
I've just done math, and I don't think it will apply to either of you at that time.
Hot dog.
Oh.
Well, but you know what is a fun thing to do?
What?
Is answer questions.
Indeed.
And I think it's time we start answering some questions.
We should.
And so our first question for November comes to us from Dinosaur, who asks, what type of bender would you be in Avatar: The Last Airbender? And Scott, you've written your answer first. So what kind of bender would you be?
Indeed. I said I'd be an earthbender, no question, because, like, number one, I always thought it was one of the coolest of the bending abilities. And two, it really would make my job easier.
Ooh.
Scott,
I like that.
just like...
Imagine I'm able to just walk up to a fossil, walk up to like a field jacket, touch it, and like Dr. Manhattan style turn all the matrix into dust, and just pull out the full thing. Just here it is.
We don't need a CT scanner. We have Scott.
Does this question, like, could you be bad at bending? Like, you're this bender, but what if you just kind of suck?
Well, I like, if memory serves, it's been a really long time since I've seen Avatar. But like, yeah, absolutely you can be. So like, I imagine there would be a level of like precision and understanding of the material where like you could screw it up and like break off a chunk or like separate a chunk of the actual fossil from something else. But yeah.
Well, I mean,
Yeah.
there are also people who are super finely attuned in that universe, right? Like isn't Toph's whole thing that because she's blind, she has like a
Yes.
preternatural ability to earthbend, and that's why she can bend the earth that's in metal?
Yeah.
Is that
Yes,
Do
but
I
you don't
recall
need
this
to be
correct?
blind because you can, I think, learn how to do
Well,
that.
you can learn it, but she invented how to do it. And then
Yes.
taught
Yes.
others.
Right.
But what it made me think of, Scott, when you're thinking of like bending as fossil preparation, is it unfortunately made me think of, I have not seen the live action Avatar movie, but I've seen one clip from it in particular, which is
I know exactly
hilarious,
what you're talking
where it's
about.
like
It's so
5
funny.
earthbenders doing a very coordinated dance, and it
To
just
move
slowly
one
moves a rock.
rock?
It lifts one rock and it moves so slowly. And I'm imagining you doing like a very elaborate dance in the lab, and then just like a tiny fossil losing like an inch of matrix.
See, what's very funny is that would be maybe even more energy efficient and faster than current methods of fossil prep.
Hey, and it'd be a great way to stay in shape. You do a little dance.
Yeah. Because remember, fossil prep is not a subdiscipline that is known for its speed.
True.
No, in fact, when I hear about people doing prep quickly, I'm usually like, oh,
That
good.
sounds bad. It's like my
That's
mentor
good,
always
yeah.
said. Like, there's 2 ways to do fossil prep. There's the fast way and the right way.
Very
Yeah.
funny.
I like just go at it with a Dremel tool, you know?
I have written my answer next, and my answer was also earthbending. That is not for any fossil reasons at all, frankly. It's just the one that I always thought seemed the most useful and like versatile. That there's always earth around you, so you don't have to worry about not being around it. Firebending seems like the most useless because like you're just going to either make things warm or destroyed. And then earth and water bending are cool, but definitely earthbending. Earthbending seems the most useful. And like the people who like ride a big wave of rock to go fast, like that's a cool way to get around.
That's true.
I can't argue with that, but I will when I give my answer.
Well, who wants to go next?
I'll go next because I wrote answers below, but I somehow forgot to answer this one.
I see.
Which is that I liked water bending. I always thought that was cool. I don't know if it's because I grew up on an island or if the whole blood bending thing appealed to me. I think both of her.
There we go.
Yeah. Hey, anyway, it's fine. Water is neat.
Alex, why
Friend
not?
of me.
Or Amelia, why don't you go? It seems
I
like
don't know.
Alex.
I mean, I was just trying to keep the order that we usually do. That's all.
Is that what we want? I didn't write anything down. But
Neither did I.
Well, sure, we'll go then. Amelia, Alex, always.
Okay. I agree with James. Water seems to be the coolest. Like, I guess there's not as many practical applications for it, but I think about practical applications for earthbending. I'm not building houses, and I have no interest in that. So, or like structures. I'm not into structures really. Yeah, that's. I don't have much more complicated thought other than I like water and think it's cool.
You heard it here first, folks. Amelia does not have interest in structure.
Not into structures.
The humble nomad.
Amelia, not into structures, Sightlow. What a hilarious
a
way
great
of phrasing
turn of
that.
You know what I mean?
Listen,
like
I'm not very
buildings, and
structure
I thought-
focused. Not a highly structure motivated individual, Amelia.
Which is ironic because I think I
Can't
told
wait.
you guys I literally had a meeting with my advisor like a week or two ago where he's like, "You seem to really like shapes, which is basically structures in anatomy." Like as opposed to he's like basically the conversation was there's 2 kinds of paleontology. There's shape paleontology and there's number paleontology, and I like the shapes.
I really like. Hey, everyone, go get a PhD where you can work on shapes.
You can get a degree in shapes.
Get a degree in shapes.
It's
Talk about the Lord of
basically-
Shapes.
If you were to simplify the name of the dissertation, it is just Mosasaur shapes.
Well,
Right.
I would make a argument that all human knowledge can be reduced to like shape because we think in physical shapes and not like an inherent understanding of math.
This is an interesting way to say I don't like coding in R, Alex.
Correct.
Topologists, comment below. What do you think about all this?
I don't care what you think. Don't comment. Just joking. I'm joking.
Well,
It's my
Mr.
turn.
Joker. What bender are you?
I'm the Joper. No, earthbending's cool. So obviously, I think we can all collectively agree that airbending is the most useless but very fun.
Yeah, flying
It does
is
look
fun.
like fun.
I'd like to zip around. That being said, like if I were like to inhabit the mind of a Redditor, so like if I were dumber, really, I would like make a long-winded arguments like, oh well, if you were a firebender, could you control like the heat exchange on an atomic level? Which is like the annoying X-Men argument people always get into, which is no, you can't. They can't do that in the show, so you can't either. I'm basing this exclusively off of what has been demonstrated in Avatar and Avatar 2. It's a lady now. I like both of these series, to be clear. Earthbending. Cool. I don't live near a desert for the sandbenders. I guess maybe some beaches. But if you're on the beach, I figure you might as well just use the water. I don't live in a particularly rock. I mean, I get, yeah, there's rocks everywhere. But like, if I were to use earthbending in my daily activities, living where I was living, I would be sued by the state. And probably immediately arrested because you would destroy, like, their property laws. You can't just like make a chasm or like erect a stalactite through someone's fucking driveway because you want to like jump.
Destroy the asphalt as you ride away.
Yeah, exactly.
Down the street.
You're just going to be an who can move like some rocks around if you do like a punch in a backyard for fun. And then you have to drive to that party where you're going to do that in your car. And you're just thinking like, that sucks. I kind of and then metal bending is kind of cool, but it seems like it's hard. Not everyone can do it. And again, like in the world of Avatar, sure, dropped in our world, you are going to like cause 9/11 every day. Basically, you're gonna like you're gonna bend a steel girder to do something cool. Someone's gonna miss it when the safety guys that are going around. It's like, oh. It bent back in shape. It's like structurally sound? We don't have time to check. And then like 6 weeks later, chink, and you're in the news again. Water bending. Better in every way, frankly. You can bend water. You can bend ice.
You can bend water with water bending?
Yes.
Tell me more.
You can make water hard. And what's cool about making water hard is that like you could do a crime and it would just melt. It's ice. You can control plants and also obviously blood bending, which is like evil, but I don't know, living in a world would be like the ability to control someone. Big, huge, actually. I personally would just have the most fun because I like the ocean and I would like zip around. I would basically just water ski to like, I'd be like, oh, I want to go visit my buddy in England. And then just like Jesus Christ on speed.
Well, Alex, you would never say that sentence.
I have a friend in England.
Do you really?
Yeah.
Also, Alex, this would take like physical effort. That's really far.
Would it? I don't know. Like they move pretty fast when they're water bending, and they don't look like they're exerting a lot of energy. And if I get tired, I'll make like an ice float and then like hang out. Catch some fish by just, I don't know, turning the water immediately underneath me into ice. And then you keep going. It's the best one, and it's not even close.
Now, if you can waterbend and freeze the water, can you also heat it up? Or is that a firebender thing?
I don't know if they can make vapor. I think they can bend vapor, but I don't know if you've ever
That's a
seen
great
them
idea.
turn
Actually,
water
hold
into
on.
vapor. But I mean, that's the art. Like, basically, earthbenders can bend every element. Because
You guys can mud bend.
They can mud bend. They can sand bend, which is basically air bending. And they can bend lava, I'm pretty sure.
It's a rare skill. Only a few can do it.
Well, that's fine. I'm built different, so I can obviously do it.
Okay, so according to the notoriously good site fandom.com's,
How's your browser doing?
it's so bad.
They can bend steam, yes.
No. I'm talking about the speeds of water bending. So they have in the section on ice sleds, they say that they can be propelled forward at speeds that rival those achieved by motorized transportation. And then they give a very baffling list of motorized transportation, such as snowmobiles, ice shoes, and ice skateboards. Those things.
What
Okay.
good world building.
According to
To be clear, I also like the show.
according to the official wiki, I can't find anything about like any official confirmation of steam bending. But I think doesn't like at some point Katara turns like a rainstorm into like ice needles. So I think maybe like fog. You could maybe get away with fog. I think
fog
it probably
maybe.
have to exist. I don't know if you could. I guess you can state change things from solid to liquid, just not, I guess, liquid to
vapor.
gaseous or
Yeah.
vapor.
Well, you might be able to change it to because you can condense water out of the vapor in the air. She does that.
You can
Oh,
turn
right, yeah.
and you can turn liquid into ice as well.
But I think that I don't think that if they turned water into vapor, it would be hot like steam. I think it would just be like atmospheric. Like it would just be humid.
But then why is the ice cold?
Well, just because solid water is cold to us.
But gaseous water
hell of a question.
Well, gaseous water is often hot, but it's not always.
James,
Yes,
there's a big spirit
yeah,
turtle
under
that-
high enough pressure.
Well, yeah, but like getting blasted by like a tea kettle is different than walking out into like the swamp. You know,
Well, but that's not gaseous. That's
I'm sorry, Dalton. What did you just say?
the swamp.
It's a swam.
Remember
remember the swamp? Well, I don't think that we ever see an airbender, like a waterbender, interact with truly gaseous water. You see them like with humidity.
I'm wondering if like Alex and I could solve the energy crisis by just like with no other energy input, boiling a lot of water and throwing it through a steam turbine.
I mean, if you want to solve the energy crisis, someone needs to be a firebender because then they can just shoot lightning at a
That's
metal
true.
rod.
That is true. But they could do that.
And then you're turning calories into electricity.
which
Right.
they do in Legend of Korra.
Yeah, it's cool.
You haven't seen Legend.
I've
Dalton
seen it.
hasn't seen it. He doesn't know.
I've seen like the first half of the first season. I was sad about it. It didn't interest me that much, and so I stopped watching.
I have not watched it.
But I liked some of the
pretty good.
concepts. I like Republic City, and I think the kind of early 20th century technology is fun.
I like the theme of our beloved heroes just kind of making a mess of the entire world, because it turns out maybe you can't elect like 14-year-olds who've never been to school.
I was going
run
to
a
say
country.
a bunch of teenagers become child soldiers, and then all of a sudden the world is better.
No, very fun show though. I enjoyed it. And that we've done it. Has everyone answered this question?
We have.
We
Yes.
have.
All right. And so it's time for the next question then, which comes to us from Regalius, who asks, how many lions would it take to kill an Alamosaurus? And Scott, I'll let you go first.
So I said that this really highly depends on how the lions are applied. Like if they're hunting the
love that.
Alamosaurus, like dozens upon dozens. This would be a very upsetting thing to see happen, because it would be a war of attrition between like, can there just be so many lions that maybe the Alamosaurus would end up just slipping on the viscera of all the crushed lions and falling over and
It kills
dying.
itself.
But
I like that.
if the lions, like if they're shot out of a cannon, I think you could do it in one lion.
God damn. You took my. All right, I'm working on a new angle.
I was going to suggest a railgun.
A lion
Love the
railgun.
Yeah,
lion
just accelerated at like
railgun.
10% the speed of light.
This is a relativistic lion.
Relativistic lion. Damn it!
That's
Like
why
that-
Isaac
that would do
uses
it.
It would
The
do
most
it.
dangerous
It
son of a
would do
bitch in
it.
space.
It would do it.
Delta, are there railguns in?
I don't
Or is that
remember if there's
Battlestar?
railguns in the Expanse.
I don't remember.
My answer, I think I'm not going to entertain any lion. I'm not going to entertain relativistic lions. No spherical cows, no relativistic lions, no lion cannons. This is lions acting as a lion might, trying to kill another animal. And in this case, it happens to be an Alamosaurus. And I think it's a hundreds to thousands situation. I think it becomes like one of those comical, totally accurate battle simulator videos where it's like one guy versus an endless screen of little things.
Yeah.
Because if the Alamosaurus gets down and rolls around, it becomes a lion steamroller.
Yeah.
It would just be a matter of time until the Alamosaurus got tired, or the lions scratched it enough to start making it lose enough blood to lose energy.
I don't even know if a lion could get through its skin. Like
I don't know the answer to that.
I don't
Like
think they
in
could.
some spots maybe, but not like, I bet not the legs.
It's got to sleep at some point.
Lion
yeah.
steamroller is so funny.
I think it'd be very hard, and it would take a lot. There'd be a lot of lion death.
Yeah, this would kill the lion.
This is going to kill the world.
So
lion.
many.
Yeah.
James?
All right.
I did suggest the railgun. If we're not entertaining relativistic lions,
you
as it
can.
were,
I'm not.
I do entertain that as a possibility. Well, it's just an imprecise question, right? It's an imprecise question. We don't really specify what we mean. There's no possible way. Like, I guess Alex is right. The thing has to go to sleep at some point. And that's the only time it would even be possible for a lion to do any damage. Like, I mean, this is just going to be an area where it is like the hide is so thick, the size of the animal is so great. This isn't even that the Alamosaurus would kill so many lions. His too bad. They'll kill him, but they won't.
They'll kill you, Alamosaurus.
No flapjack.
No flapjack. I
This
forgot
is
about
going to be a good one.
flapjack.
I can feel it in my bones.
Well, okay. Amelia, do you have any thoughts on lion Alamosaurus carnage?
I don't have anything to add other than because the question doesn't specify that it's not a baby Alamosaurus.
God.
Okay.
If it's a baby Alamosaurus, one lion. If it's a juvenile, I don't know, the average number, whatever that is, whatever average number of lions on a hunt is, I think could handle them until a point, because lions can take buffalo, can't they? And those are pretty nasty
They've
animals.
been known to
Yes.
take elephants.
They
it's
can
very
take
difficult.
Like, I think the reasonable threshold for biggest they could handle would be buffalo, and the largest possible theoretically would be elephant. And anything beyond that, they're out of luck, because an elephant is also very difficult.
Yeah, when you get to multiple elephants big.
Yeah, no, one elephant absolute max, but I don't think so. I think the threshold is before that. And the number of lions becomes irrelevant, I think, after one elephant. So that's my opinion.
Alex.
I have been denied 2 of my answers now. So I will resort to pedantry, the refuge of all cowards. 0, because they live at different times.
Oh.
But here's the answer too. While I agree with my colleagues that for an adult Alamosaurus, it would have to be like hundreds to thousands, or like, I don't know, 3 when it goes to sleep, because the heads are still like, you can do a lot of damage to a titanosaur head if it's on the ground.
That is true.
Mhm.
But let's say it's, this is a fight, and it's not just like a wait for it to go to bed. I think if the lions were organized and could talk, like in the hit film that is the favorite film of our patron Gojira, Mufasa, the prequel to The Lion King, a movie he loves.
What'd you say about my brother?
Well, then maybe just like a few dozen. That one's that's just a joke mostly. All right, that's my answer though, because I was gonna say a baby and just one, but
yeah, I know.
Mrs. Big Brain Amelia over there had to steal my thunder.
Okay, well, let's move on from lions to From the Lion King to a different kind of king,
Oh,
King
God.
Zasshu asks, what are our favorite spec evo tropes, i.e. whale birds or late surviving dinosaurs? And Scott, you're up first.
Mine would definitely be like, for lack of a better term, like truly alien aliens. Things that, like, I love Star Wars, I love Star Trek. Things that aren't just like a dog with a horn glued to it, or like a saiga antelope in a couple different positions. Like things like the aliens in like Wayne Barlow's Expedition.
Hmm.
Or Wayne Barlow's Avatar.
He did concept art for Avatar.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yes.
Yeah,
That's really cool.
that's why that movie slaps.
Among many reasons.
Or like we were literally just talking about a different Avatar, so I was like, he did?
The Last Airbender. No,
Hence
the
why I
Spaceman.
was okay. Hence why my look of profound confusion there.
Understandable.
No. The creature design behind that Avatar is Dave Filoni going, I don't know, it's a duck and a turtle.
Yeah. Other examples would be like Alex Rice's Burin project. I love that one like so much, and that's also a fun exploration of like a different sentient species that it also just like feels very different from humans. And also Tamari's I don't know how to fully pronounce this because I've only ever seen it written, but I think it's Phthanum B project. I love all of those. Like the I believe they're duovertebrates or something is how they're referred to, and they are bizarre. They're like types of life that I'm just like, I'm not 100% sure how this works. It's cool that you've thought it out to this degree, but like it really just kind of boggles my mind, and I love things like that. Or I guess for a very accessible like easy to find and consume example of that, examples of that would be like things like Subnautica, things like Scavengers and Scavengers Reign and stuff like that. Yeah, I like me some good, really, really weird aliens.
That's a good show. It's sad that got canceled.
Seriously, we need season 2.
I also like really alien aliens. I think they're very cool, and I like all of the things that you mentioned, Scott. I think my favorite spec evo trope, and the one that I find the most fun to think about, I guess, though, is still just the Earth, but the KPG asteroid didn't hit.
Yeah, that's
like
fun.
The New Dinosaurs. I really like that book. But I think it's just like it's the ultimate what if scenario for the history of life on Earth. Of what would happen if they didn't hit, and like dinosaurs are the coolest animals, so I like them to still be around and do more cool things.
Based Dalton.
I've always liked ideas about like what if a different clade happened to have the right stuff to survive a mass extinction event. Like even if you still have a KPG, like what if you do get a squamate dominated world, right? Instead of a mammalian dominated world, or what if Lepidosauromorphs wind up becoming dominant in the Triassic instead of Archosauromorphs, right? These are like interesting ideas. To some degree, it's probably deterministic because like those clades presumably didn't lose just for stochastic reasons. Like, and I mean, this is debatable. My assumption would be there probably was something real that caused things to go the way they did, and not just like a population got unlucky, and that's why you have a world with dinosaurs as opposed to a world of like dinosaur-like squamates or something like that. We don't really know what these things are, although a lot of people guess. So I like to think about that, but I even more like to think about like future evolution of the world around us today. I really did enjoy aspects of the show The Future is Wild as a child. I think there's a point at which it starts to get silly because I think it goes from feeling like, oh, these are all things that you could pretty much believe happening to the people making the show or the book really want there to be giant terrestrial squid that are like sauropod sized, and it's just like it doesn't feel like that's a
Hater.
thing that could happen. Listen, they're cool.
No, I know it's ridiculous.
It's absurd, but it's cool.
No, and all mammals go. That was always like, really? All mammals and birds go extinct? Really?
Right, but squid, they're fine.
The cephalopods are actually pretty resistant to like ocean acidification and stuff. They're pretty hardy.
Yeah, and to walking
getting
on
land.
Right, and becoming. and I think at the end they have like the squibbin, as they call it.
The squibbin.
Yeah.
Right, which is like implied that it's going to become the next sentient form of life on Earth. I'm like, no, it won't. That's not what's going to happen. Anyway,
cool if it was though.
It would
be cool.
I would.
Yeah.
Before you get an actually in the comments, I do just want to chime in that the mega squid are not really they're small sauropod sized at best. They're 4 meters tall and like 8 tons.
Oh, is that all? Okay.
Yeah, they look bigger than they are because the squibbins are small, and there's no other animal on Earth for scale. It seems like it's just 2 species of squids in the forest.
Right.
In the Antarctic forest, right?
I don't remember that, but it's certainly
like the only vertebrates left are fish.
I think so.
A lot of fish.
The northern forest on the northwest coast of Pangaea too.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Right, it's 200 million years from now.
How could we forget about Pangaea too?
Like 200 million years. All of the big, like basically with the exception of dinosaurs, right?
Yeah.
All of like the all of the mid to small clades that were alive during the early Jurassic are still around now.
Right.
Yeah, pretty much.
All of them.
Well, and I mean, that was kind of what I was going to get to is like, I think what's really interesting are like in the immediate future, like if you lose cats or dogs, what will radiate to fill that niche? Presumably things like mustelids, if you have any carnivorans left at all. If carnivorans were extinct, probably some kind of rodents, right? Rodents are going to be like an easy answer there for a lot of these things. And
which
that's kind of cool.
They do in future as well, right?
They do, and they have a loss of seals, and they have like penguin, like they're like gannet.
Gannet whales, as they call them.
Right, which become like half seal, half cetacean kind of things. And it's like, honestly,
that's fun.
I could see penguins becoming the equivalent of a seal if they were able to break the constraint on live birth. But
I mean, they're already like getting there. They slide around.
Well, and I mean, I think the question is like, is that as far as they can get if they still need to come out onto land, or can you become like a big thing that can't really even walk on land? I don't know. But anyway,
what are Hesperornis has to be struggling on land, doesn't it?
I think probably
definitely.
is quite a lot. Yeah,
I think it's moving around like a loon but bigger.
That's cool.
Regardless, I think one of the interesting questions, and this is something I was talking about with a coworker recently, is like, could you get the origin of another fundamentally new group of life? And I know like phylogenetically the answer is no, because it'll be a member of a group that already exists. But like that aside, like, could you get a radiation of a group in the future that is as distinct morphologically and seems like a preordained type of life in the same way that you did throughout like this Paleozoic into the Mesozoic, right? Like there's very really a lot of the Mesozoic snakes don't exist, right? And that's like a kind of life as we see it today, where we're like, that's a fundamentally different thing, where there's an amazingly diverse radiation. And even though we understand them to be squamates, like I think colloquially, like lizards and snakes are different things, right? There's a time without turtles. There's a time without crocodilians. You go back, are we ever going to get something like that? Or are we always playing with this preordained kind of field of diversity that you can get to that's being winnowed away at as you continue to evolve?
Well,
is there like a heat death of evolution is, I guess, the question that keeps me up at night. Like, can we keep generating new diversity, or have we already explored the bounds and we're just filling it in?
I think basically as soon as something terrestrializes, you can make a croc, because like the croc like niche has, I don't know, basically since the Carboniferous existed.
Oh, right. Yeah, and like so many vertebrates,
and kind of snakes too, right?
Filled
like this...
the croc niche. I mean, we got some of the temnospondals, we got phytosaurs, we got champsosaurs, we got real crocs, we got spinosaurs, we have protocetids, like.
Right, but that's kind of what I mean. Like, that niche has existed since the Carboniferous.
Yeah.
And so even though a different lineage is inhabiting it at each time, I wouldn't say we've invented a new kind of thing in that way.
No,
Right?
it's a like a modification on the croc
Right. And even though
body plan.
even though like mammals and dinosaurs do have a lot of ecological similarities, presumably, I would say that mammals are like very fundamentally different in body plan than dinosaurs, beyond like them being quadrupedal or bipedal tetrapods, right?
Sure.
But like, are we going to get another group that's that kind of different? Kind of keeps me up at night.
Amelia,
Who's next?
Spec Evo.
Yeah,
Spevo.
I don't think super often about Spec Evo stuff. I do like the future is wild approach of what if it's silly, because that's fair. Things could very much be silly, and like it mostly felt somewhat reasonable. Or like even if it wasn't technically, it was like, yeah, that's what an animal would do if it were trying to accomplish that niche. Like it was interesting, and the discussion of like how they informed it with real stuff was interesting, I thought. So like that I like. Otherwise, like Scott said, like if we're talking like speculative evolution or speculative biology with respect to alien things, especially, like it has to be, or I guess for me the best ones are like just so weird that they're basically unrecognizable. Like because like yeah, it would be if it's something if it were something evolving on another planet completely isolated from here. Like I imagine there'd be more convergence than we'd expect, but it's something that not many like movies and fantasy things like actually I think accomplish well, other than the Avatar and the, not that it's a movie, but Wayne Barlow's work too, I think really gets to that, where it's like it's plausible in a way that makes sense, but it just doesn't look like anything, literally like anything. Yeah.
Alex, your thoughts?
Well, this is a fair question, and I have some thoughts. Thought one is, dear viewer, I know. Oh, sorry. Hold on. I'm getting my charger. Dear viewer, many of you have an interest in Spec Evo, and you know I like them. I like to see the art. Sometimes I've had a lot of fun with the King Kong Skull, the like 2005 one. Love that book. I watched The Future is Wild. I thought it was fun. I think, you know, perhaps what's valuable, maybe I'm getting ahead of ourselves here, but like I think I'm personally more engaged with the Spec Evo stuff as like how do we think about like how evolution works as opposed to like what would be cool, if that makes sense. Because like I don't know, I can think a lot of like but like in this conversation of like what does it really mean to like produce a new shape on Earth, like in terms of an organism or a vertebrate or something, or what is, you know, what do these recursive fillings of niches look like? Kind of something like the one thing, and James got so close to this, and I was so worried he was going to steal it from me, but he didn't. Something I've always kind of been like very interested in terms of a Spec Evo project, and I don't think I've ever seen it. So if you do it, you're plagiarizing me. Cite your sources. Anyone who does this in the future is ripping me off. Is what if in the future of the Earth, you know, maybe there's some mass extinction, and like there's a mass extinction on Earth, right? Something upsets the you know like a thermocline or a halocline is, dear viewer. If you don't, it is
answer like Dora the Explorer.
Like Dora the Explorer. Sorry. So in the ocean, basically there are points in which the concentration of salt or temperature changes in the sea, and those can happen kind of like as a gradient, or they can be very sharp, and they can shift. So I kind of had thought of like, okay, what if like there is some horrible event in the future, and like there's a mass extinction, and it's like, you know, maybe like Cretaceous bad, like there's still life, still terrestrial life, still marine life, but for a few million years, just a part of the deep ocean is separated from the from literally everything else, and you have a second origin of life on Earth. Like just like at some thermal vent, a new kind of life emerges on Earth, and maybe it like something radically different too, like fundamentally like something about the chemistry where it is weird, and like okay, and then that something shifts, that thermal or chemical barrier degrades, and it turns out that they do pretty well everywhere. Like, what does that look like? What is a planet with what is that? What is like a dueling twin origins of life? Because it's like entirely possible that happened in Earth's past, that there were multiple origins of life, and we're just the one that won out. But it'd be cooler if they were like not cells and like critters.
Yeah.
And that's always been a very is it like, could they parasitize each other? Like, what does a parasite look like in that case? Like that kind of stuff. And I think that'd be, if you're good at art and smart, do that.
Yeah.
And then and then email it to me.
I've had an idea of like, what if either on Earth, I haven't thought of it as a second origin of life, but it could work, or just like an alien system where everything is photosynthetic essentially, but like the photosynthetic organisms are motile and also heterotrophs.
Everything's that cool sea slug.
I was about to say like some sea slugs.
But yeah, all cool things. And so thank you, King Zasshu, for that question. Our next question comes to us from Ryanwantstodie, who asks, have there ever been any specimens that were covered up / withheld by museums? I'm not going to read the second part of the question, but it is funny. And no, to the second part of the question, no, that's not true and they didn't happen. Well, yeah, I'll say my answer, and if anyone else wants to add, they can chime in. But hiding, like covering up or withholding specimens is counter to the mission and ethos of museum collections, which exist as a repository of natural science data. I mean, natural science collections. It's obviously museum collections go beyond the natural sciences, but I'm just going to talk about what I work with and know about. But the idea is essentially a library where researchers can come and check out this material and either go in person and look at it or have it on loan, do tests within reason. They exist to be studied and used so that we can continue the pursuit of knowledge. And so to like cover up or withhold specimens is counter to that idea, like at its very core. What does happen often is that if someone's actively working on a specimen and you go to a museum and you say, I want to work on this specimen, I have questions about it I want to answer. If no one's working on it, then, go for it. Sweet. If you like, that's something you can do. If someone else is currently working on that specimen, doing research on it, then it's a different story where you need to clear with the other authors who are working on it and the people who manage those collections that you're not stepping on any toes. And so it might be like, hey, I want to see this fossil. I'm sorry, it's on loan to someone else. Like, it's just not here. Or you might say, hey, I want to study this fossil. And they say, oh, just so you know, X person is working on a description of it. And so you like, if that's what you wanted to do, then unfortunately you're kind of out of luck at that point. But if you're like, oh, I don't want to describe it, but I want to incorporate data from a couple of its bones into this data set that I'm doing that's something else, that's usually something that can be worked out. And it's like, hey, I'm not trying to do what you're doing, but we both want data from the specimen. That can usually happen. But that's pretty much the extent of any like withholding of specimens by museums.
Yeah. What I wanted to say is like the one exception to this kind of, or the other exception, I guess, is a lot of museums are federal repositories. Not all, but many. And sometimes federal repositories are asked to hold on to materials that are not able to be looked at as part of the research collection, but more like, we know this is a museum collection that has the right rules and regulations in place where we can like keep this thing for a while. And that would be the case, or specifically why I know about this is a lot of museums get asked like, hey, this fossil was smuggled out of China or Mongolia. We're going to repatriate it. That's a legal process that takes a long time. It's not like the government just puts it like in an Amazon box and sends it back to Mongolia or something like that. Like, this involves the embassies and the ambassadors like interacting with each other, coming up with a repatriation plan, all of that sort of stuff. There's often ceremonies associated with it. It's a big deal. And so I know that I won't even say which museum I was at where I knew about this, but they basically told me like, a poached Alioramus skull that is now back in Mongolia. They were like, oh, while I was there visiting, they were like, oh, by the way, that is here. You can't see it because it's illegal. But they were like, we were just talking and they're like, oh yeah, we actually do have that here right now. We're holding it until it gets sent back. That's the only other case I'm aware of where there's literally something in the museum that you're not allowed to study or look at. Like,
Right.
And by you, I don't mean just me, but like anybody is not allowed to do that. Because also I've been at museums many times where like there's a beautiful Teratophonius specimen at the Utah Museum that's been like out in their prep lab a lot, and there's a picture on Wikipedia. It's like a beautiful skull. And while I was there, they were like, that is being worked on. So like, they were like, we're not going to hide it from you. Like it's been on display, but they were like, you can't study that. Like the people working on it aren't comfortable with you like collecting data and measurements on it and everything. And I was like, that's fine.
Yeah.
Like, again, it's not hidden. I knew exactly where it was. I knew what shelf it was on. I would see it when I walked past, but I wasn't going to like do work on the specimen.
Yeah.
No calipers, no notes.
I guess in kind of the like conspiratorial spirit of the question, I haven't even historically heard of museums getting things and basically being like, no one can know that we have this or that we found this sort of thing. That's, as far as I know, that's never happened.
No, I don't think that's a situation.
Love to talk about what they have.
What'd you say?
I just said, like, scientists like to talk about their work and their specimens, often to the point of, like, I don't know, that's why we have embargo, because the scientists cannot be trusted to shut up about stuff if there are not consequences to that, because, like, we like what we do, we like what we work on, we like to share that. So it just doesn't happen. And, like, when it does happen, like the guy said, like, there's usually, like, very, reasonable reasons for that. And different museums handle those things differently. Like, obviously there are cases of people who are, I don't know what the right word is, not doing things fairly, I guess, and will not let people see their fossils. But, like, you should see that as a huge red flag, because there's no reason to hide the fossils or to hide data like that. And to be clear, in those other cases, like fossils being repatriated, and when someone else is working on something, like, that's not the fossils being hidden. That's just someone else kind of has dibs on it, and they're respecting that. Or in the case of the things being repatriated, there's the legal and other things to consider.
Yeah, and even if there is someone like problematically like going like, oh, who's not letting people see stuff, it's not because even the worst behaved people aren't doing it because they're like, haha, I don't want people to find out about this. They're doing it because like, I want to be the one who talks about this.
Right.
This is cool. Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's selfish, right? And you do it enough and you just build up a huge backlog of stuff that you'll never describe anything, and then you die, and then someone else can do work on it.
Right.
60 years later.
Yes, that's what Alex and I are attempting with all of our things. But it's also like, I think it kind of, when people think these things, it does strike me as like they don't really understand that the currency of science is finding new things. Like you're trying to learn new information. So like if there were a specimen of a Bigfoot or something in a museum, people would be falling over themselves and like tripping each other trying to be the person who describes Bigfoot. You would never have a situation where there is like a scientific cover-up to prevent the public from knowing that Bigfoot exists.
No, it's one of the things that's always kind of struck me as kind of like fundamentally wrong-headed with a lot of these like science conspiracy things, of that, like, for lack of a better term, to be a like, or a better way of phrasing it, to be a scientist, like, it kind of goes fundamentally against who we are as scientists to ever find anything and go, we need to hide this because it challenges the status quo or what we know about the world, or like stuff like that. Like, people are excited when they find something that challenges things and changes things.
Yeah, and the most famous scientists are the ones who have like completely upended the way we've thought about like natural systems.
Yeah.
Right. And I think a lot of people,
Man, the DPRK publishes on fossils.
right. I mean, to that end, like fundamentalist Christian churches in the U.S. have like really embraced fossils and everything, like trying to make them like evidence of Genesis. But I think that's like a pretty good sense. Like these are fairly powerful organizations. If they wanted to be suppressing that information, they would not be buying Allosaurus fossils and things to put them in the Creation Museum, right? Like clearly there's a not really this push to suppress things. I do want to say, like, it is not like individual scientists have never tried to suppress data.
Yeah.
And that does happen. You know, people have conflicts of interest, and so like you say you get invited to review a paper that is disproving your work. This is a situation where people are pretty it's not unsurprising to find out that they're like, well, I think this paper's bad and shouldn't be published. But the information usually eventually comes out, right? This is not to say it's all perfect, but like the idea of like there's a species on Earth that we can't tell people about is like just not a situation. The only way that would happen is if it's like a national security risk and even the scientists don't know about it. Where it's like
they wouldn't tell the scientists because
right.
they won't shut it up about it.
No, exactly. Like if aliens were real and the military were holding a bunch of their bodies somewhere, not a single scientist would have ever seen this. There would have been
we would have known.
We would have known
within like 4 days. 4 days
4 days into 2017.
Oh yeah. Also, right. we would have known immediately. To paraphrase my father when we had a chat about this a while ago, said whoever thinks of these conspiracy theories of like that, they have aliens at Area 51 and stuff like that, are some of the most optimistic people who I've ever met. Some of the most optimistic people who've obviously never worked in management,
right?
And also have never worked in the military, because it would be a matter of hours before one of these enlisted airmen is telling about the aliens and showing pictures of the aliens to the stripper at the local place that definitely 100% loves him. Like,
right.
A news story out of Fort Bragg in 2 hours where they've dressed up one of the corpses as like a hot lady. And they're like,
yeah. I guess what I'm saying is, while I don't want to dismiss the possibility of like there being information that has been suppressed for some reason, the idea that there's like some vault, there are vault-like museum collections where things are put so that nobody will ever find out about them is just not how it is. Like, I mean, quite honestly, if the government didn't want us to know about something, they would just incinerate it. There's not going to be like, if we can't know about Bigfoot, they just burn Bigfoot's
they're all dead. That's why we can't find them.
Right. Yeah. We killed them all and you can't know about them.
And the reason why you can't get good pictures of them is because they're just blurry.
They're transdimensional.
They're just blurry. They just look like that.
No, the areas they inhabit are blurry.
It's like very much the kind of vein of like, and maybe it's a little different if you're in like the medical sciences or like, I don't know, contract defense or whatever. But like the idea where they'll be like, paleontologists are only publishing like this kind of results so they can, they have to get the grant money, follow the grant money. And I'm like, the $5,000, like how much do you like? It just reeks of people who have no idea how any of this stuff works. Like, I'm holding up, I'm holding up the entire deep state operation for like, I don't know, the price of a few Lego sets a year.
Yeah, like the only times I can think of hearing scientists act, like I can only actually think of like a couple times that I've heard scientists talk about like actual times that scientists agree with information being suppressed. And that's when it's like major, like geopolitical safety and like health related stuff. And like
the nuke.
Well, yes, but like a smaller scale one that I've heard of, and I'll check numbers on this and we can cut it or not if I get the numbers wrong, is I've heard some medical professionals talk about that it is kind of seen as like a dangerous like fact in medicine that seems to be borne out, that like it kind of doesn't matter how much you smoke. If you stop before you're 25, it doesn't really seem to have that much of an effect on your life, on your longevity.
That's not a good thing to know.
Yeah, and
Right.
and that's something that it's just like that a lot of doctors have been just like, this is not a good thing to tell people, even if it is true. So
Right.
like
We're all under 25.
No, we're not.
None of us are under 25.
So like I mean, hell, I even have mixed opinions of like keeping that bit in. I just wanted to share that with you guys.
Well,
'Cause I find it interesting.
I mean,
That is interesting.
I personally think that I think if information is a bad thing, I don't like that at all. But like, there's certainly a lot of geopolitical concerns where I understand the impulse of like, we should not tell people that this is happening right now.
Mm-hmm.
Right. I mean, to a smaller degree, like this is a thing that like trying to decide if I'm even comfortable with this being in the video.
You can just say
I'll
it
decide
and then
later.
say if you
I think I've thought of a way to say it where it's probably okay. Universities generally don't want researchers to make it very obvious that experimental animals are usually put down at the end of an experiment.
Yeah, that's a good one.
Right. And there's a real concern for that, which is like there are cases of animal rights organizations either vandalizing museum property or like harassing or museum or rather university property, or actually going after people and targeting them with harassment campaigns.
My dad used to have monthly meetings about this back when he was at LSA.
Right. And it's like
or semi-monthly meetings.
Yeah, no, I mean, it's a real thing. And so when I did my master's in physiology, for instance, they were kind of like, if you're doing an experiment that is a non-survival experiment, right, where the animal can't survive past the end of the experiment, like they were like, you don't have to not talk about it, but like this is not something you should like be posting on Facebook about or something like, you know what I mean? Like, this is not information to just go ahead and share because there's a possibility of risk, right?
Yeah.
I don't feel uncomfortable putting that in the video.
No. And I mean, in paleontology, very relevant. There is, very often the precise location of fossil sites is not made readily available. Like we're not going to publish the precise latitude and longitude, and especially on federal sites. But it's because there's a risk of poaching and people going in and stealing fossils. And it's also, sometimes it's a hazardous area and you don't want to be like, hey, there's cool stuff here. Everyone should go to this spot and then fall in a hole and get hurt. Like it's a safety risk. It's a security risk. And, we still report where stuff comes from. It's just not the exact, get your GPS, you're going to go to the hole. Because it's not even frankly often tremendously useful information to be that precise about it. Right. And if you need the actual locations for some reason, you can usually get them. There's just a process for it.
It's like how they don't share the location of the oldest known tree.
Yeah.
Methuselah.
Right.
It was like they know where it is, but you cannot look up where Methuselah is because we know what people are like.
Right.
Right.
Or where the oldest vault is that they opened and found.
Right. Or I mean, the location of a lot of the important Gobi sites in the early papers from the AMNH expeditions was like not even indicated on a map. Like they were just like, it comes from the Gobi Desert in Mongolia, and we'll tell you where if you're a qualified researcher with an affiliation. And that was because Mongolia's had a long history of fossil poaching. Mongolia's cultural heritage laws do not allow commercial sale of material. But there's a huge black market for Mongolian fossils, and those sites have been located by poachers, and a lot of them are now basically picked clean.
Right.
Like poachers have found a lot of the material, and they will go out as long as they can throughout the year so they can outwork a lot of academic teams. And so while that information eventually became like widely known, in the early AMNH Gobi papers, they don't publish the precise locality data. They're just like, it's this rock unit in Mongolia.
Yeah.
And we'll tell you where it is if we know that we can trust you, basically.
And that's the big point, is that it's, we're not widely distributing that information, but it's not as if it's being kept from everyone. If there is good reason to share it with someone, it will be shared.
Yes. Yeah. No, there's, again, like Amelia and Dalton and everybody have said, scientists like to talk to people about what they do. There's not a lot of secrecy.
No.
That also makes the whole dinosaurs are a hoax thing hilariously funny, because the scale of private operations of just some guys going up and digging and selling this stuff privately is insane.
Oh yeah.
Oh, I mean, they're better
Lamau.
funded and supported than most academic outfits.
Yeah.
They will go and rip through a hillside and get everything they can.
If you are a basketball or baseball player with an insane belief like that, you have enough money right now.
You have enough money that you could go fund a dig and go on that dig and prove to yourself that we are pulling these things out of the ground.
Yeah, if you pay for us to do it, we will happily go with you and dig fossils up.
Oh my
We'll
god!
show you every
Absolutely. 100%.
You can search our luggage to see that we're not bringing
bringing them with
not
us to dig out of the ground.
Pre-bringing them with us. That's such a funny belief. I love the internet.
But speaking of the internet and things that make us laugh, but also things that make us cry and gasp and ooh and ah, it's a question about media, and it comes to us from Dinodom, who asks a timely question when asked, less timely now, but that's on us. Thoughts on Arcane, since by the time this video comes out, season 2 will be finished. And it is indeed finished.
Yep.
And other video adaptations. And what adaptation do you think would be perfect to turn into a show? I did not read the latter part of the question.
Me neither.
So I'll try and think of that on the spot. But Scott, you go first.
Yeah, I didn't do that either because I was too busy thinking about Arcane. Because, boy howdy, I really like that show. I thought it was phenomenal. I think I thought the writing was insanely good. The animation's pretty much second to none. I do feel that, and I know that this is a very not original opinion, I feel that both seasons could have really used a couple more episodes, especially season 2. I think there could have been at minimum one more episode per arc, and it would have made things feel a whole lot just better in terms of pacing. I remember finishing episode 8 and kind of going, I have no idea how the hell they're going to wrap this up in one episode. And to their credit, they did. But there was a lot of people coming in and out, and it's just oh yeah, you've kind of done nothing this season. Or oh wow, we've not really seen you at all this season, sort of stuff. But the performances are fantastic. The music kicks ass. It's a 9 out of 10 show for me. I think it's absolutely incredible, and it's something I've rewatched season 1 a couple times. I'm looking forward to rewatching season 2 at some point. It's amazing. I've always said that the worst thing about Arcane is, and by a country mile, is that there are a non-zero number of people who watched this show and had the cursed, evil, soul-rending thought of, oh, maybe I should give League of Legends a try. And for that, I think that that Riot and Fortiche have committed a soul crime that cannot be expunged. So I think that the show is bad and we should never have had it. But but I'm really excited to see what they do next. The little teaser things that they've done of other stuff set in the League of Legends universe and stuff is just amazing. I can't wait for more of it. And honestly, if I think of a video game adaptation that I think would be perfect to turn into a show, I will let you know when my friends talk, because I did not read that bit of the question.
Who else has seen Arcane?
I have seen Arcane.
I think it's just us 3. I think it's
Have you seen season 2, Dalton?
Not all of it, no. which I will address in my.
I think it's just Alex, Dalton, and I.
I don't
Okay.
even know what this is.
It's a very
Okay,
good show.
yeah, this makes sense.
I don't know what that is.
It's an animated program, but it's a very good one. There are many good animated programs. I don't wish
so
to,
I've heard.
to disparage the animated genre. It's not a genre; it's just a medium.
Correct.
My thoughts on Arcane. I also really love Arcane. Season 1, I had no right to be as good as it was, considering the source material.
Genuinely.
And
What source
like,
material?
yeah, the like non-existent lore, and it comes from League of Legends. And I say I disparage League of Legends coming from a place of I probably have spent 6+ years regularly playing League of Legends in my life.
Oh,
I haven't done it in a
didn't
long
know
time.
this.
I haven't played it much since graduate school, but like middle of high school through most of college,
Since
I played
graduate
a lot of League of Legends. Did I play enough to like advance to become very good at it? No. I kind of hit a ceiling and then just stayed there. But I also didn't play ranked to really assess my skill, because ranked League of Legends is one of the worst things a human being can do to themselves. And I wouldn't do it. No, but Arcane's amazing. I loved season 1. I've only seen the first arc of season 3 because we watched that season 3. I've seen the first arc of season 3. No, I only saw the first 3 episodes of season 2 because we watched those the weekend that it came out, and then just circumstances. I think just had something to do the next weekend, and so didn't keep up the momentum, and so I haven't watched the others. The other issue is that I think at the time, and I still can't access my Netflix account. My family Netflix account, I should say, not my own personal. If I had my own personal account, I'm sure I could access it. But I was sharing my mom's, and then Netflix cracked down on that, and I have not been able to access Netflix since. And so having intermittent access to Netflix has meant that Arcane was not a viewing priority for me. But eventually I will try to watch the end of the season. I'll probably just restart season 2 because it's been long enough. But I really like Arcane. It's just it's so beautiful as a show. Just the animation is probably the best. Probably the best.
Just the best.
Hews very closely to Spider-Verse levels, which actually I probably prefer Spider-Verse a little bit to Arcane, but
there are bits of
both very good.
There's bits of stylization of both Spider-Verse and Arcane. Like both of them are kind of in conversation with each other of using every aspect of the medium to tell a story that I know that the bit that everyone talks about with Spider-Verse of being just like one of those you probably didn't notice it but your brain did moments of like Miles learning how to swing for the first time when he's animated on 2s and everybody else is animated on 1s.
Yeah.
So he seems out of sync with everybody else. But once he starts to get it, he starts to get animated on 1. So he literally physically in the medium of animation pops into sync with the rest of the characters. And then
damn, those are cool movies.
And then in Spider-Verse 2 with Spider-Punk being animated on 3s, which is almost never done. And because he is a punk and just out of a nonconformist, is literally animated in a completely different way than every other character in the movie, which is very cool. And there's bits of that in Arcane. Specifically, there's a bit of that in Arcane season 2 that I want to mention, but Dalton hasn't seen it. I'm seeing if there's a way I can talk about it without... No, not really.
There is a way, which is I'll take my headphones off. You can say it and then make a visual signal for me to put my headphones back on.
Okay. Yeah. So the bit where they go to the alternate universe and Jinx and Powder have the dance together. Sorry, not Jinx and Powder. Those are the same person. Where Echo and Powder have the dance together, and it's animated very slowly. And that one's actually animated on 4s, where it's every 4th frame is a new drawing. And that is simultaneously it's because it's animated slower than everything else. It is showing that the characters want to be in that moment and extract everything that they can out of that moment with each other, because it's literally lingering on every single frame. And 4 seconds is Echo's time powers limit. So it is simultaneously, it is a reference to the ability that he is working on with that other character, and the fact that they want to hold on to this moment as much as possible. Tiny little details like that are just levels of, you did not need to go that hard, that are they're rarely seen in any media, let alone animation, that is
That's
incredibly time consuming. And it's very often that corners are cut in animation. Like it's like, look at the background characters in episodes of Invincible. Like, it's crazy. There's a whole sequence in Invincible where they talk about like all the corners, the ways that people cut corners on the animation,
which is a Simpsons joke, by the way.
It is?
Yeah, they do it when Lisa and Bart go to a animation studio. It's fine. You're allowed to make the same joke.
I'm back.
But Scott, thank you for sharing that interesting detail.
Oh, you're welcome.
I return to say just briefly, yes, I like Arcane a lot. I like it, and I think both it and Spider-Verse had moments for me where like something happened and it was like, I didn't know you could do that with animation. For me, like there's the very like obvious fight in Arcane season 1 that does that, and then like Spider-Verse was when they were in the collider in the first movie, and it was just like every color in the universe was on the screen at the same time. And then basically everything that happens with Spot in like the latter half of Spider-Verse 2. It's just like, I didn't know you could do that. Like it's just brand new, incredible visuals. In terms of a video game that I think would make a good show, because I did think of an answer while Scott was reading his, is Mass Effect.
I could see that.
I think, and not like you could do it live action, and I think there's live action stuff in the works for Mass Effect, which I'm excited about. But I think it might even be better served by animation. Just because it could be done faster. It's like, if you're not familiar, I think Mass Effect really should have been and could be kind of the best like 21st century kind of high, not like hard sci-fi, but like space opera sci-fi. It's like fairly, there's aspects of it that are decently grounded, and like the kind of conceit of like the kind of the thing that makes the universe work for doing a galactic civilization, being element 0, being the substance that if you run electrical charge through it can influence the mass of objects around it. It's such a cool idea, and they weave it into like everything in the universe, and they've got like a great cast of aliens, just a very cool kind of galactic society. And I think it's ripe for like, Tales of the Citadel and Tales of Omega, and just all these like very fun spots in the galaxy. It sets itself up for great kind of pulpy sci-fi fun of like, here's this your main character is an extra governmental secret agent who has the approval of the Galactic Senate to do whatever they want, essentially. And they have a ragtag crew in a cool looking ship, and they go around, busting up crime and saving the day. That's just great. It's awesome. And there should be more of that.
Oh, the Borg shows up.
Yeah. I think that, like, to give a little bit of an answer, but be a bit non-committal, I think that, like, with the exception of a couple things, I think that the best video game adaptations that we've had are more, they're not what they used to be, which is like, well, in a couple different ways. They're good now. But they're not worried about, yes, they're not worried about like absolute slavish adherence to like just retelling a story. That they're like modifications of it. They take place in the same universe and with the same characters. But with the exception being like, I think the Last of Us TV show is very good. And even then, the best bits of that show are the bits where they kind of improvise and change things. Or the Fallout TV show is not one for one telling the story of any of the Fallout games.
Yeah.
Well, it's new. It's set, I think, later in the timeline than anything else.
Yeah, exactly. So the best to say like other good video game adaptation examples are like Cyberpunk Edge Runners. Kicks
Ooh,
ass.
very good.
Yeah.
Very, very good. It is not one-to-one the story of what happens in Cyberpunk. Or the Castlevania series. I don't think any of them are exactly one-to-one the stories of the video games. And those animated shows are phenomenal. I need to watch the new season of the new one that came out a little bit ago.
Yeah. I mean, in the case of Cyberpunk, those are events happening before the events of the game, though.
Yeah, but also like.
But I get what you're saying.
Yeah. Yes, but I'm saying that like, what I'm saying is this is not like the Fallout and the Cyberpunk like shows are not specific adaptations of specific games.
Yes.
And but like this is not a foolproof recipe. Like I know that like no one talks about the Mario movie for good reason. Like it was just
do well though.
It did well, but it was like
It's fine.
It's meh. It's
I didn't see it.
It's
I forgot
unmemorable.
that came out.
Exactly. But yeah, so I think something that's set in an interesting or like fun to think of universe would be would be good to
Sure.
do. Like the one that comes to mind. Oh, actually, I will change the answer that I did have, which was going to be Titanfall. I think that a Titanfall, like,
Yeah.
I want it to be animated too. A Titanfall animated show would kick ass and be a lot of fun. But my mind changed to I want a modern.
Core.
I want a modern Wolfenstein series.
Oh, that'd be fun.
Because the most recent, well, not the most recent Wolfenstein game, but Wolfenstein, The New Order, and The New Colossus are some of my favorite games of all time. And the way that they talk about like the political climate of America during the period around World War II is unfortunately unique in video games. Like it's wild that we've had so many Call of Duty games and that are set during World War II, and we've seen like one actual concentration camp. And then there's Wolfenstein, where like the fact that America is a racist country and was kind of pretending to be on the side of like perfect valor and everything is part of the plot. It's great. God, those games are amazing. We could go on about this for ages, and James needs to go to bed.
Desperately, in fact.
Yes.
And other
Well,
people need to answer this question.
Oh,
James,
yeah.
James, what are your thoughts on Arcane?
I don't have them.
Good.
Dan.
What game do you want to see made into a show?
None of them.
Train game are you playing now?
I'm playing Workers and Resources Soviet Republic. But
They made that
I think
into
that's
a
on the
real
History
thing,
Channel.
actually.
I've heard they made it into a real thing. I started playing this as soon as Arcane was brought up. I wasn't previously playing a game. But
I respect that.
I don't want any video game adapted into anything else, because I think that, like, you know, it's kind of a funnel where you're losing something from like books to movies or TV to video games, and I don't think you should go back up that chain. What?
That's fair.
What
very
is
funny.
a video game but a movie with a more derivative plot that's fun because you're the one playing it? Like, that's why you don't need an Uncharted movie. Indiana
It's
Jones
just
already
bad
exists,
Indiana Jones.
right? I mean,
Yeah.
it's fine. It's not like, I wouldn't say it's measurably worse in like an objective way, but it's like, it's not original. It's just going to feel like an Indiana Jones knockoff as a movie, whereas it doesn't feel like that as a video game.
No,
No,
because it's a
I've-
fundamental different like art form that it has a different way of interacting with it. And in my opinion, the most interesting video games are the ones that interface with the fact that they are an interactive medium in a way that by necessity none of the other mediums can.
Right.
No, when Scott was pitching, I thought Scott for a second when you were like, "Oh, I know what they should make a game." I thought you were going to say Red Dead. I'm like, "Oh, they're definitely going to make a Red Dead 2."
Like
They will, and I
show.
don't want them to.
No, because
and the worst part is it'll probably be pretty good.
like, I mean, I'm okay with it'll be a good Western, like, but that's like what it would be. But like playing Red Dead 2 is entirely different, or like you fundamentally can't adapt something like Outer Wilds.
Right.
Right.
But like, I mean, Red Dead in particular would be like that. The game has scenes ripped directly out of Western movies.
Yes.
Like the train scene from the assassination of Jesse James. Like, it's just going to feel derivative. I know, but I don't have another hour, Scott.
They're just counting on their audience of 19-year-olds never having seen a Western film.
Right, well, I mean, like, an homage is also okay, but it, like, you can't adapt the thing that's heavily referential to something else and then expect it to feel normal. So, no.
Oh, sorry.
I reject the idea that video games should be adapted into other media, and I wish it weren't happening. I think it's
what they should do.
The death of our culture.
I have a different argument for the death of the culture, but that's fine.
I know you do.
And also that the death of the American culture would be one of the greatest acts of moral good in modern history.
Yes, you're very edgy, Axie.
But Amelia, what do you think about Arcane?
Just called you Axie. I don't know where that came from. I think I'm too tired.
Axie.
I think I'm gonna go to bed. You guys answer the rest of the questions. I don't give a shit.
I have not seen Arcane. It's been on my list, but as grad student, as a terminal phase grad student, I had no time to engage with new media and become distracted.
It is terminal.
Yeah, and as similar situation with video games becoming movies, in that I agree with James in that I think for slightly different reasons. I'm just kind of tired of not seeing anything original anymore. Like, there was something on Twitter the other day that was like, I don't know if it was Fandango or what it was, but something like most anticipated movies of the summer, and not a single one of them was an original idea. Like, all of them were sequels or reboots, and it's like, that's so depressing. Not because I'm inherently opposed to video game movies. It's just, I don't know. They would have to be very creative about it. And I think, like some others have said, like, I think being set in the world without actually being the same story that you play as the game is the way to make them good, because then it's not the same thing exactly again, which is what Western culture right now is doing in media, which is driving me up a wall.
Don't worry, AI will make it better.
What if it was all things that existed already?
It's Fallout, but it's through a Snapchat filter. You like this, don't you, idiots?
Anyway, I also just have not played as many video games as the rest of the people here, so I don't have an opinion that way. So,
make a Guitar Hero movie.
Dalton, you go, King.
Make a power washing. Make a power washing simulator movie.
So isn't no, never mind. I was gonna say one could argue that School of Rock is basically a Guitar Hero movie.
Yeah, kind of.
Not really. But it's an interpretation, if you will, of a Guitar Hero movie. Anyway.
Alex, what do you think about Arcane?
I think Arcane is a great show. Scott said basically everything I think I would have liked the second season to be a little longer. I thought the plot resolution on Piltover was incredibly lame.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, she gets to sit at the big table now. I'm like, all right, whack. And I'm keeping it vague so Dalton doesn't. I'm not spoiling things for Dalton. And I won't say what my favorite thing is, but it is, and I will speak generally here, Cosmic Robot Jesus.
Oh, I know what you're talking. Like, you could have just even said, I won't say what my favorite thing is. I watched that and said, I can't, out loud by myself in my apartment. I can't wait to hear Alex's thoughts on this.
And that character is correct. Every character opposing him is wrong. He offers a glorious future.
Alex, he becomes brainwashed of that thing.
No. He sees forever, and he reaches a reasonable conclusion. So my girlfriend is a big Arcane fan. She's like, oh, you have to see it. And I remember watching the first season and being kind of like, oh, this is fine. And then like lean forward, lock in when like an 8-year-old girl kills all of her friends by accident with a hand grenade. I'm like, I see what you're doing.
Yeah.
Speak on this.
I've told a bunch of my friends who are interested in watching it that not not in the way that this implies, but it really gets good after episode 3, but not you need to suffer through the first ones.
No,
That
it's pretty good. Yeah.
That it's a really solid young adult animated story that just takes a hard left turn, and it's just I remember watching that and just having my jaw on the floor, almost to a level similar to the end of the first episode of Invincible, of just
Yes,
I did
I remember,
not think that would happen in this show.
Yes, absolutely. In terms of video game to TV series adaptation, generally I agree that it is a culture consuming itself for some reason, and maybe someone should at some point come up with something new and cool.
We don't do that here.
For now, I will allow James Cameron to carry the torch of Avatar, which is at least a thing he came up with, into the future. But if I had to choose a game to turn into a television series, well, first things first, here's what the series is not going to be. It is a 22 episode series, 30 to 45 minute episodes. I'm so sick of these 8 episodes. Get rid of them. Who likes this? It's all money saving bullshit.
That's why serialized Mass Effect adventures.
That's awesome.
Big seasons.
And there's going to be a lot of walking around and talking in these shows. Anyway, sorry. Best Star Wars live action series is Andor. Is it any coincidence that they also have 12 episodes a season as opposed to the cowardly 8 to whatever? No. No, but I mean, unsurprisingly, I think I could conceive of either Blooded Born or an Elden Ring TV series that would be very good. And here's my pitch. It's a bunch of episodes. It is 22 minutes long, 30-minute long episodes, and it's an anthology. And it is about either different hunters, or you do 40 minutes in just a character waking up somewhere, kind of wandering around, meeting some people, and then eventually dying. And as the season goes on, you begin the overarching story of what is happening is in the games, built through context clues. I think that would be so cool. It's just okay, there's tarnished Joe Schmo. And he's going to walk around in Kaled, but there's a new thing happening. We don't know what it is yet. It's related to the lore. And it's just, each episode is a fun little self-contained adventure. Maybe it's someone doing a quest for Jarber, something like that. But as the characters interact, there's something bigger happening. It's like Star Trek. It's bottle episodes, overarching plot, but it's more like a mystery, and it's spooky and gross and it's goopy. And I would like it to be probably stylized animation, but if there was someone who had I don't know, it could be live action. I could take it if as long as it looked good. That's my answer.
All right. And that's the question, folks. And now it's time for the next one, which comes at an appropriate time because my stomach has started growling tremendously as I realized the last time I ate was 3:00. It is
Dalton.
This question comes to us from Dino Nerd 1, who asks, describe the perfect Thanksgiving meal.
I'll say that I think that my family's Thanksgiving meal is damn near perfect. We've kind of nailed how to do a turkey without making it dry. You brine it first, you spatchcock it. Lots of butter, including put the butter under the skin, and just an absolute ton of herbs. It takes us about an hour to pick all the leaves off the herbs beforehand when we're making this. It's great. Butternut squash soup. We do this parsnip and potato mash, or there's this. We've recently been doing this Fontina potato thing that's so good. Green beans, classic. Cranberry sauce. It's got to be the stuff in the can that stands upright and it has the ribs. Homemade cranberry sauce. It's great that you put the effort into it. You shouldn't have done that. Just open the can and shake it out like dog food.
They cooked with that one.
They really did. And stuffing that's obviously cooked out of the bird because the bird, after being spatchcocked, is flat now. And the dessert of a pumpkin or apple or pecan pie is fantastic.
Excellent choices.
Those are good. Yeah, that's a very good choice. I've never. It occurs to me as you were saying that I don't think I've ever eaten a parsnip or any like
All right.
product of a parsnip.
Yeah, they're good. I like them.
It's yeah, I'm sure they are. This is through no like avoidance. I just have not come across a parsnip. Mine is as follows. Your main meat course is going to be ham, and it's going to have been lovingly prepared and glazed. A delicious ham. You're going to get a bit of turkey in there. It's traditional, and some parts of the turkey are good.
In the ham?
No, not in the ham, just in the meal. If we're going to do like a turducken situation, but it's a herky and it's just a ham and inside of the ham is a turkey. No, there are parts of turkeys that are delicious, but I find them as a whole to be fairly lackluster. Even when cooked well, even when not dry, I don't think they're very flavorful. But you get a bit of dark meat of the turkey. However, what we are going to get is a lot of the turkey skin. That's going to be a side garnish, and the tail.
The Pope's nose. Yeah.
The tail is delicious. Actually, the neck can also come in because the neck's really good too. But you get that. Those are your proteins, right? Loads of mashed potatoes. Load up that plate.
Load up
mashed
that
potatoes,
plate.
absolutely. I'm sure there will be gravy on the table. I will not be putting gravy on the potatoes.
Oh, I
they
forgot
stand
about
on
mushroom gravy. Yeah.
And stuffing, about equal amounts of mashed potatoes and stuffing. Probably just a secondary plate of just that, honestly, is what you need because they're the two best things. Some green beans, inspiration from Scott too. Ideally not in casserole form, but I'll take it if that's the only thing available. Sweet potatoes going to be in there. Those can be standalone, like mashed, or they can be in casserole form with the marshmallows. Either is fine, delicious either way. And pumpkin pie with vanilla ice cream and Cool Whip, and that's your that's Thanksgiving. That's the ideal Thanksgiving.
Kick ass.
At this point in my life, I would be content with any Thanksgiving that does not show me a turkey. I cannot express to you how much I despise turkeys as an animal, as a life form, as an accursed, wet, floppy hunk of 20 pounds of flesh that is like everybody on earth is gaslit into thinking tastes good sometimes. Scott, you have to put a lot of spices on that turkey. You have to do a lot of work to make it edible. That's what you said. You described that before. You know I'm right.
No, that's a good point. The direct way I phrased it was to make it edible.
Well, that's what you're saying, right? You're like, you're making it edible by cooking it. And you're making it edible by dousing it in so much spice. It's like British cuisine in the 1700s.
Listen. The only thing that is keeping me from eating the turkeys that live on my block, raw, like Saturn devouring his son, is the fact that I think that it's illegal.
Insanity. Insanity. They are vile, disgusting creatures.
It's a mid bird.
Their smell nauseates me. This part's not a bit. I find that turkey smell I find absolutely nauseating. Like all Thanksgiving I want to throw up the entire day.
That's unfortunate.
I've never liked the holiday as a result. Like even though I like spending time with family and eating meals, it just ruins.
You're Italian.
My day.
That's like half your culture.
Well, right. That's also, it's not different. It's like, oh yeah, what's different is today we cook a disgusting, enormous pink bird, and then we eat dinner at 3 p.m. for some reason.
Jeez.
God, I wish I loved anything as much as you hate turkey.
I know. I want to emphasize for everyone that this is not a bit. I've spent two Thanksgivings with James now, and it's not a bit. I remember, I think it was the first time that you picked me up from the train station, and you're like, I got to give you a heads up. Everybody's mad. Right. We're arguing about the turkey, and it's my fault.
And that's the thing. Everybody else in my family has weird food aversions or smell aversions, and they're respected. And then whenever I'm like, hey, this smell makes me nauseous, and I find the holiday miserable, they're like, shut up.
Yeah.
Like, I didn't eat a fish until I was like 24 because my dad doesn't like the smell of seafood. That's fine. I don't like
What?
turkey.
Oh my god.
Anyway, all I'm saying is the ideal Thanksgiving is either like a big ham, like Dalton said, or a roast. A nice standing rib roast would be great.
Oh, we do that for Christmas.
What we've done recently, and this is, I guess, the olive branch, is that we also make a duck on a lot of Thanksgiving, and
Ooh.
I do love me a duck.
Love duck.
Those are wonderful. So that's fine. You got to have some good mashed potatoes. I think a really good homemade bread would go well with the meal.
Oh yeah,
Good,
yeah.
a nice gravy. You got to have stuffing. Obviously, that's traditional. Cranberry sauce, some corn-based stuff, and a pumpkin pie as the dessert. Perfect. If I were president, I would not pardon a turkey anymore.
Okay.
I would be elected, and I'd say we're ending this tradition. And in fact, I've actually ordered the U.S. Navy to bombard poultry farms from the coastline.
I thought you were going in a very different direction of that. I've
What?
ordered the U.S. Navy to bombard the nation of Turkey.
No, no. The nation of Turkey, they're very good people, but the animal turkey. I just want to see how a poultry farm with like 10,000 of these fucking things does when a single shell, the weight of a fucking like boxcar, hits dead center of that farm.
Probably what
white
any farm would
phosphorus.
do if you shelled it.
Just explode.
Right, that's probably true. White phosphorus rounds against the turkeys.
Okay.
Drive the species to extinction. Anyway, Amelia, what do you think?
Amelia.
I thought you were gonna say instead of pardoning a turkey, we'll execute one.
Yeah,
Yes.
I just shoot it myself.
And no one gets to eat it. It's
Yeah.
it's thrown in the garbage.
Leave it to rot on the White House lawn.
Nail it to a board for like 3 weeks outside of the White House.
Put its head on a spike like what was that guy in London or whatever?
Oh, are we talking about Guy Fawkes?
No. It's the dude whose head was put on a spike for a long time. I forget.
feel like they did that to a lot of people.
They
They
did.
did that to a
They
lot of
did.
people. Are you talking
But,
about William Wallace?
Yeah, but
Are you talking about Braveheart?
I had the phrase come into my mind of like, oh, it's James Napoli doing or President James Napoli doing a new White House tradition of the new White House tradition of the turkey crucifixion that we do every year.
You
It's
can't
just-
crucify
it's just-
a turkey.
It's just James in a kimono, and they walk a turkey up with like that like the veil cloth they put on like prisoners in Shogun, and then
You're gonna
James does
boil
like
it alive.
no, he just decapitates. He like walks up and down a line of turkeys.
I was thinking of Cromwell.
Oh,
Ah.
right.
Okay. Does anyone else have to talk about their food?
Amelia.
I do and you do.
Okay.
I like turkey. I don't understand the problem here. In fact, you do in fact have to season most food for it to taste like something, and that is okay. But that's not. But also, like, I think it's fine. It's different. I don't know. But also, like, it's very easy to mess up, and so I can understand why it has a bad reputation, because Thanksgiving tends to be a bunch of people trying to show off for their family how well they can cook, and they cannot cook. And they make it like their whole personality to host Thanksgiving and all of that. Not that
How
has
do you
happened.
really feel?
No, not that that's happened in my family, actually, because my family's Thanksgiving has always been great because I've got people who know how to cook. So anyway, I do like turkey, and like a homemade turkey gravy kicks ass. When I've been making it, because now that I've been out here however many years, I usually, except for the 2 years, well, no, I guess there were 3 years I spent it with someone else, but I also just like had made like my own Thanksgiving thing here. I've been doing an Old Bay brine for the turkey, so like
Sounds very good.
Sounds real.
yeah,
good.
it kicks ass. So it's an Old Bay brine, and then I'll get, to be clear, it's just me and Jacob living here, so we just get a single turkey breast from the farmer's market, because that's enough for the two of us. So I brine that and then bake it, and has the skin on, so the skin gets really great and crispy. For sides, my latest thing that I really like is spicy maple syrup Brussels sprouts. So it's like you roast Brussels sprouts with maple syrup and chili flakes, and it kicks ass. It's really good.
It does sound really good.
Mashed potatoes of any variety I like a lot. I like to add rosemary, garlic, shallots to mine. Cranberry sauce, I really, really do like the canned stuff. I do also have a recipe for homemade stuff that turns out really good. It's like a cranberry blood orange type sauce with like cinnamon and cloves and stuff in it. It's really good. So I usually make that, and then nobody eats it because nobody likes cranberries, I guess. And then I am upset because I like it. But anyways, and I feel like I did something else. Maybe I didn't. Oh no, right. So I do also make. I think a very good pumpkin pie. So I'll make pumpkin pie. And back home anyway, my grandma would make homemade applesauce, but like she'd add like Red Hots, like the candy to it. So it was like a spicy cinnamon applesauce. It kicks out. It's really good.
That sounds great.
That sounds interesting.
Yeah, so we'd also have that.
That sounds, yeah, I think I'd like the flavors of that a lot. I don't like the texture of applesauce at all, but I think the flavors in that would be very good.
It's really good, and it comes out like a fun pink color. So it's like, it's different.
Interesting. Okay.
All right, Alex. Ideal Thanksgiving.
Honestly, I don't need a lot for it to work. For me to be happy, I need 3 things, and the rest are non-essential. Maybe 4. Yeah, maybe 4. I like my can of cranberry. I need a loose seasoned stuffing. Classic. It's been cooked. It's delicious. It's gooped. The mashed potatoes have to be off the chain.
No chained mashed potatoes.
And pumpkin pie. And the rest is like obviously whatever. I'm like middle of the road on turkey. When it's prepared well, it's good. I've had like someone did fried turkey one year. Awesome. But like
one of the most dangerous foods that people can make.
No, not the whole thing for like
they chunked it.
Yeah, and it was very good. It's fine. It's fine. It's fine. If it's cooked well, it's seasoned well, it's a nice bit of bird. It depends on what side of the family I'm with. So sometimes it's a very like traditional classic Thanksgiving. Other times it's more lasagna and ziti when it's with the Italians. But they still always try to make sure there's like a bit of the classic fare as well. I find that the Italianized versions of like classic Thanksgiving meals are often worse.
Yeah, no, that's not a good vibe.
But the classic Italian meals that they just serve
are
like a nice lasagna, kick ass. That being said, someone did a Parmesan cheese mashed potato once that was so good.
I could believe that.
Yeah. Anyway, no, it's fine. We have a nice Thanksgiving meal with my well-adjusted and very normal family. You might think that's a joke.
No, I know it's not. That's why I'm laughing.
But yeah, there's really no explanation for why I'm like this.
Well, it's fun to talk about the holidays and food. And it's also fun to answer the next question, which I'm going to proceed by saying I'm not a huge fan of cranberry sauce of any variety. I'm sorry to say. I don't hate it, but I just don't put it on my plate, really.
You don't load up that plate?
Not with the cranberry sauce. But Rad Reptile 615 asks, continuing with the out of left field questions that I like to ask, what would happen if a small theropod such as an oviraptor inhaled a lot of helium from balloons? Would it affect its vocalization like ours? And how much would it take for it to float out of the sky, like float out of the window into the sky like a minion from Despicable Me? Hope I made you chuckle with your thought and have a happy Thanksgiving. Well, thank you for the Thanksgiving message. I'm going to carry that to the next one. And I think I'll hand this over to the people who think about air sacs more. And James has written something down.
I have. Here's what I've written. It's going to die. You're going to kill the oviraptor.
This kills the oviraptor.
Any
Well-
amount of breathing it in, or filling
Well,
it to the point where it's a balloon animal
Filling it
that
to the
floats
point
out
where
the
it's a
window?
balloon animal that floats out the window. Without knowing anything about like theropod vocal organs, I don't think it's possible to really know for sure that the pitch would go up
I'm
I
gonna
imagine-
check to see if anyone's done this to
to a bird.
parrot.
Oh god.
Oh no!
I'm
Oh,
gonna make
no.
I'm gonna make some
Don't
very
birds.
very probably gonna make me angry Google searches.
That's what you're gonna do. That's for
Oh
sure.
no.
But yeah, I don't think there's any reason to think that wouldn't happen.
It's
Helium,
my understanding
yes.
that any amount of ingested, like if you were to ingest the amount of helium necessary to even begin to float, your lungs would be like twice as large as you and outside of your mouth.
Well, yes, but you don't have air sacs, Alex.
I think any bird would die well before it was floating.
Well, so let's do some density stuff here. I said in the thing that I didn't have time to math this out, but I'm going to do it right now a little bit, I suppose. Okay. So the density of helium is 0.178 grams per milliliter,
Mhm.
which means that it is 0.0001 grams per liter. Right? I don't want to
are
do a
you
10
I'm not
billion
paying
newtons
attention.
thing here, right?
I was not paying attention. Sure, whatever you said.
Right? 0.178 divided by 1,000 is 0.000178 grams per liter. The density of flesh is about the density of water, which is 1 kilogram per liter. Okay? So a kilogram is 1,000
Hang on,
grams.
I want to really briefly interject, because I'm afraid we're approaching a Newton's territory, which is that just that Wikipedia tells me that the density of helium at STP is 0.17 grams per liter.
0.17 grams per liter. Oh, you know what? I realize I'm looking at an AI summary that probably got it wrong.
Oh,
That's fun.
Oh, James, come
well,
on.
There we go. I switched browsers recently. I'm not used to the display. Okay, so that's good. So 0.17 grams per liter. So the density of flesh is about 10,000 times that. So that means that you're going to need a lot of helium. Right? The thing, if you want to float, you have to offset your whole weight. So you would need 10,000 times as much helium as flesh, because you need 10,000 helium atoms or helium molecules pushing up to offset a single equally sized unit of flesh.
And well, it's like
Right, or rather, for a liter of flesh, you would need 10,000 liters of helium to offset that.
yeah. So, like I said, dead.
It's going to die. You have pumped this thing so full of helium that it dies. Its lungs will rupture, all of the air sacs will rupture, and it will scream a terrible high-pitched version of whatever
It'll be
awful
like
sound they
running
made.
over bubble wrap with your car.
oh no.
Well, so my,
Yeah.
my Googling has probably very fortunately not given me any results that are like soul shattering. But
That's good, yeah.
I can say that like they almost certainly would have had higher pitched vocalizations, because the reason why helium makes your voice sound a whole lot higher is because it's a physical thing of changing it's a physical effect. It's
physics.
not it's physics. So just by the way of physics, it would work the same way for theropods as well.
Okay, well, there we go.
There we go. There's your answer. Don't worry about it though, because soon we'll be out of helium.
Right, unless
Yes.
an American
Well, I think they
farmer
found-
finds...
Well, I thought they found a bunch more.
Didn't an American farmer do the exact meme?
I think so. I
I
think
struck helium.
there's been a major like find of there's like we've
Good.
got a lot
Well,
of
then,
helium.
don't worry, guys. Then there will be helium for a while longer.
3D Squeldon won't have to cry. Boo hoo.
Dalton, what are the words you say?
Don't worry.
I'm smiling.
Just move
friends.
on.
3D Squeldon.
Has he seen Smiling Friend?
I don't
No.
know.
I've
Probably
not.
does, it probably doesn't help. From the thing that you don't know about.
Right.
Insert nickname asks our next question, and that is what was the most difficult part of making a scientific paper? I have written the first answer. I don't know if I have like found one part necessarily to be more difficult than the other. In my experience, it just kind of compounds as a project moves along, as it becomes a little bit more tedious to work on. You're like, I just want this to be done.
Yep.
And then as you're being thorough with it, it just kind of, your idea of when it's going to be done almost always gets pushed further and further away. Like you're like, oh, this won't take long. 1 year later, it took long. It's just the way it works, I think. I think maybe for me, the first, like, it was possibly responding to the peer reviews, especially like my first author publication. Responding to the peer reviews, it wasn't necessarily harder to do that, but I think there were more mental hurdles for me to cross, where I just like had some anxiety about it, and I was like, I don't want to do this, like, and then I did it, and I was like, that's fine. It's just, it's just making edits. But that's maybe the most difficult for me, but I don't know that it's going to continue to be like in my career.
Mm-hmm.
James, you've written down.
I have. I'm sorry. I forgot that Scott had not written something down there.
I don't write papers.
Right. Forgot about that. The hardest part for me is really doing, and I shouldn't say is, but was doing the real due diligence to turn like an idea into a paper. Right. I had a bunch of ideas for papers I wanted to write one day, but they were mostly like, at that point, it was just like, I had a thought. Right. Like, this is the thing I thought of.
Oh, that's a thought.
Right. And sometimes they were not bad thoughts. Sometimes they weren't particularly good thoughts. There's all sorts of thoughts that happen in the world. It took me a while to really understand like what level of scholarship you need to be doing if you're like writing a paper. Like it's incumbent on you to do a tremendous amount of research. There should not be a citation in that paper that you don't at least know most of what they said. Like, there are maybe exceptions every now and again of like, you're citing the R script that you used or something like that. And you're just like, yeah, that's where it came from. But like, you should really read all of these papers if you're going to use them as a basis of your argument. You run the potential to miscite something and have pretty disastrous results if you don't do that due diligence. When I started describing fossils, like I was, my first paper was the Psittacosaurus amataba description, my first paper in grad school, I should say. And in that paper, I was like, the maxilla is triangle shaped. It's got a lateral depression on the side that's called the antorbital fossa, but might not be homologous to the antorbital fossa. It's got a row of foramina here. The teeth are elevated on a pedicel. Like all of these things, they're not wrong. They're all valid observations of the specimen. But it's not that scientifically graded description. Like I wouldn't write the paper that way now, because I understand much more about how I'm supposed to do comparisons, right? Like, how many specimens should I look at? How should I be describing the anatomy in relation to other things? If you read that paper and then you read the Curricula paper, where Alex and I were like extremely exacting about every specimen we ever looked at and what we had compared to and all of that, you'll see a pretty big difference in my own writing. And that's because I engaged with myself and tried to like, really practice doing that level of due diligence. And they're quite different in both, I think, their quality and like the impact they've had. Like I've gotten compliments on the Curricula paper. People have been like, that's a really great piece of work. That has not happened on it, and it's been cited. So is the Psittacosaurus paper, but nobody's like at a conference been like, man, that was a great paper. Like they're like, yes, that's a paper that exists. Like,
hey, Jim gave you comments.
Did he? Oh, right. I forgot. Oh, Jim.
To clarify, because I will not tell the viewers what my advisor's comment was. It was not a negative comment about the paper. It was a funny story about the specimen.
It was, yes. So not exactly what I meant, but still a good thing nonetheless. That was it. Just like you'll see a huge difference, and it's doing that level of like the part that makes it more science and not a blog post. Basically, is tough. It's really hard. I don't want to minimize it.
Amelia.
I would agree that doing actual thorough literature review is a pain in the neck and takes a lot of time, but it's really important. Because I try to do the same thing with my animals, like to just be very explicit about which specimens I was looking at when I said a certain thing, because a problem in mosasaur literature, in my opinion, having now been through it a lot, is that it's not always clear what someone means, and that results in other people misinterpreting what the original person who wrote the character meant, and then that kind of snowballs into huge problems. And so documenting every step of the way where every piece of information comes from is a real pain in the neck. Logistically, I don't, it's not that working with other people is hard, because it's really important, and it's 11:30 and my dissertation's due in 25 minutes. Bear with me. It's specifically coordinating people's schedules, which I think I've said this before. Like it really isn't like actually the act of working together and being collaborative. It's just that scientists are so busy. Like it is so hard to kind of get everybody on the same page and on the same timeline when you want to get something submitted. That it can be that can be like, I just want to be like difficult in the logistical sense, not difficult in the sense that I'm saying you shouldn't work with people, or that I've had a bad time working with people. Like all my co-authors have been fantastic and have contributed really good stuff to these projects. It's just that like trying to coordinate schedules of multiple people who are busy and traveling internationally and working on 1,000 other papers like can be really just more difficult than you would expect. Like you wouldn't expect that to be the thing that is the most difficult. But it can be that, in like picking a journal. Like I don't like doing that because I haven't gotten the hang of that part yet. And so figuring out what journal it should go in, and then also like kind of editing down to fit that journal is interesting. And reformatting my figures to be ugly, because some journals have ugly formatting requirements. But I digress.
Alex.
What is hard? Nothing is hard for me because I'm a genius. No. The hardest parts of writing the paper, James touches on some good things. Like personally, my personal struggles have been twofold. Ew, gross. Sorry, the mouse pad's falling apart. Left a weird black dust. Issue one is there will become that usually, if you're good at what you're doing, there will be a point where you're working on your manuscript where you will be the most knowledgeable person on the planet about something. And there is not a insubstantial psychological hurdle into being like too trusting yourself that you know something. And there's a lot of self-doubt. And you can get over that. It just takes a little while. Eventually it'll be like, is it me making all these mistakes, or did everyone else before me make mistakes? And while it's important to keep a sense of scale, and like that's why it's important to read literature, you do have to trust yourself at some point that you are doing ideally the best attempt at this question that's been done to this point. Otherwise, why are you trying? Point duo, which is my personal boulder, my Sisyphusian task, is project creep, which is knowing when to stop collecting data.
I thought that's when a creep works on a project.
Which is incredibly, especially if you have like nothing but time and money.
A common problem to have.
So like in a dissertation, you have time and money until you then just don't.
Right.
It's funny because it's enough time where you can like, they're like, oh well, yeah, it's your dissertation. You should like stretch your legs out. You should try to be as thorough as possible, which is good advice, and they're right to do it. But like, you do have to keep that like end date in vision, because it'll sneak up on you. And right, like I'm still collecting data on 2 chapters One, because I hate myself, and the other because I found a book I hadn't read before. We're trying to wrap up that second one within the week, but yeah, no, stuff like that. And while it's good for a project to be thorough, sometimes, you know, like sometimes it's better to get the 80% of something out than the 100% of something that'll take like another 3 years to finish.
Right.
Yeah.
It's okay that that a project is not as exhaustive as possible. I say to myself, as the thought skips off the top of my head like a flat stone on a pond.
It is
that's a
in
good
fact
answer.
okay, Alex.
And it is okay.
Yeah, if you suck. Sorry. I'm not
Um,
implying that you suck,
No, I know.
because you also have this problem.
Oh, yes, I do.
well, those are our problems laid bare for the world to see. Look at our beating heart with pity and not disgust. The man with no name asks our next question.
And last question.
Not last question. Our next question, which is my November question is this: what is your biggest pet peeve? And Scott has supplied an answer first.
Boy howdy. I do not have many, but I definitely have a big one.
Go for it.
I cannot stand picky eaters. I
Go
can't.
speak.
It drives me. It drives me to like a level of rage that is uncommon in me. It is like, and I want to qualify this. I mean this outside of health reasons, religious reasons, and neurodivergency things. What really gets me are like the people who are like the only thing I can eat is like chicken tenders and mac and cheese, and the people who like make determinations on whether I'm not or whether I'm like not going to like a food without ever trying it. Stuff like that. When it's just like, oh, it looks gross. Oh no, or like overly specific about preparation as well. Like again, outside of like health and religious things. Like if you're keeping kosher and you need to go to a place that cooks that makes sure that they keep their cooking equipment kosher and stuff, I get that 100%. But like, and or it's the same of like, oh, this can't have like tree nuts be cooked in the same thing. Like, of course, like that's just a real thing. But it's just like, oh God, it drives me insane, and I will leave it at that.
That's a good pet peeve. That's a real peevy one. Mine, and I don't know if this is my biggest one, to be honest. It was hard to assess that in the moment that this question was written. I don't know if I really rank them, because it's just kind of when they come up, you're like, oh. But you know, I guess I'd have to see if many of them came up at the same time, which I found the most bothersome. But
Sorry,
I think
my headphones cut out. Did you say what yours was already?
No, not yet.
He's in the
Okay,
process.
sorry.
But the list grows all the time when it comes to pet peeves. But what came to mind when I read the question first is hearing people eat. I like loud eaters. It's just close your mouth. I don't want to hear it. I do not want to hear it. Like, I hate eating sounds.
How do you feel about people eating in movie theaters?
I don't mind it. Typically, I think the one exception to eating sounds that I don't hate is like a crunch, like an actual solid crunch. Like if I hear someone crunch into like an apple, or like they're eating popcorn, that usually doesn't bother me. It's when there's like a liquid component and it's like,
Yeah, the sloppy sounds.
Mm-hmm.
It's never bothered me.
I know it doesn't bother some people, but it bothers me
James
greatly.
Hates it.
There's a particular style of mouth sounds while eating that I don't like. It is the exaggerated sloppy sounds. I'll agree with Dalton on.
And the weirdest thing is that I do not have that issue when it comes to animals at all.
No one does.
Like I love to hear an animal eat. It's cute. But a person eating, silence.
That's true. Animals eating is very cute.
James.
Poor grammar and like writing ability in general. Like just seeing the way people verbally express themselves on social media, it makes me angry. You have one of the most beautiful ways possible in the animal kingdom to express yourself. You have human language, and you just have, I don't know, if you write like bone apple tea, like have you seen
I've
this
seen
shit?
bone apple tea. Yes.
Oh.
Oh, that's so funny though.
One of my favorite posts on the internet is from Bone Apple Tea, of like the sign that is HO space made apple butter. And homemade apple butter.
It's homemade.
Did they now? Good for them.
Right. It really it affects me in a way that I wish it did not.
This is so funny and so you.
I know. I know. It's, listen, I'm not saying you got to like study writing in a formal context, but like, come on, you should be able to speak the language. I don't know, if you speak it, like just learn how the words are spelled and where punctuation marks go. I don't know. All right, that's me.
All right. Amelia.
Another one that doesn't bother me.
Well, of course it doesn't bother you, Scott.
Hey, come on. He can hear you. He just can't read.
This is
can't read.
This is very funny to me because every single thing that the rest of you have said is a very strong pet peeve of mine also, because I tend to not like a lot of things and be difficult in many ways. No, but like I think of those, like the grammar stuff bothers me, but not in informal settings. I think in informal settings, like it's fine. It can be silly and fun. It's when people genuinely make no effort to learn their language. And I specify that because like obviously this is not a knock on anyone who's learning a second language, because having learned a second language, it's very hard, and that's different. But like I don't know, there's not a lot of wiggle room for not knowing how to speak your native language. It's just kind of annoying sometimes. But I think that's in general coming from a place of just general annoyance about how terrible education in the US is right now. I very much hate like mouth sounds, eating sounds. Like just shut up, close your mouth. Like why are you doing that? You're an adult. I hate people coughing in public, like openly. Like you're an adult. Just
don't cough.
Yeah.
Well, first
simply
of all,
don't do
like,
it.
Sometimes you don't
Choose
have
to be better.
Sometimes we had this argument, not really, but in our TikTok chat about the loud sneeze. There's no reason for that. You don't have to do that. Like if it happens, it happens. But you guys in the chat were very defensive of a TikTok I had sent that I thought we'd be all on board with, and we were not. And I was surprised by that.
Yeah, no.
We got loud sneezers in our family.
I sneeze like a shotgun blast.
Oh, I have very silent sneezes to the point where everyone at one point tells me, just let it out. Don't hold it in. I'm like, I'm not consciously adjusting the way I'm sneezing.
No,
it's just how I sneeze.
Like I've been yelled at before of just like, oh my God, your sneezes are so loud. I try to hold them in and it causes me physical pain. It's great.
But why they yell? I understand the forceful of the sneeze. I don't understand why the sound has to come with it.
Because of physics. What do you mean?
My parents.
No, I don't. Okay, we're not having
really?
this discussion.
Is your dad a dad sneezer?
He is a big sneezer.
Anyway, that one I will say, sneezes do not actually bother me as much as coughing. Coughing is just like it's specific, and again, specifically people who are coughing with no knowledge apparently of how you're supposed to do that, especially in public. Like I don't understand people who cough into their hand. Like why would you do that? What is your goal? Like you can use your shirt collar, you can use your elbow. Those are easy things to do. We had a whole pandemic where this was something we talked about a lot and you still haven't learned. Anyway.
Now as one of those people.
One of what people?
The coughing or sneezing not into something. I just let it rip. I just go out into the environment because I don't want it on me. Just spread that.
What are you touching with the crook of your elbow?
I don't know. Something maybe one day. The entire reason we evolved that reflex is to get it as far away from you as possible.
Well, isn't it also
the paleo diet for sneezing?
I'm totally picturing James just playing a video game by himself in his apartment or something, and then just full mouth sneezing and just painting his monitor. Like, God,
I will
say this:
turn away from anything important.
Is that
also, that's like conceding to the virus? It's like evolved so you do that.
I will say this to that effect. I think doing it out of a not spreading disease particles is like a legitimate thing, and you should do it. I'm not advocating for what James does at all, but to the point of like peppering your monitor with mucus. I don't condone this behavior, but I will say I don't think I've ever like coughed or sneezed and produced a visible result from that. Like I recognize there's lots of.
I have.
No, I recognize there's invisible things you don't want to go around, and it's the proper thing to do, but I don't do it because I'm afraid like a glob is going to come out of me.
One of my favorites.
That's because you're never sick. It's because your immune system's incredible.
I have this flashbulb memory of when I was in high school and was taking an economics test. And my friend Alec was in the class with me, and everything's silent. We're all just working, and he just sneezes, and like no one makes any sort of like comment about it. Like it's just a sneeze. He like sneezes like 2 or 3 times, and then we just hear very, very like almost under his breath, but everyone in the room is quiet. Just, oh God damn it! And it was either oh God damn it or ew. And it was so, I think it was ew. And then he immediately got up, and the teacher was laughing so hard he could barely breathe as he handed him a tissue to clean out his elbow. It was so funny.
Okay. First, for the record, we're not even like halfway through the things I hate, but we don't have time for this. But I just want to say on the topic of sneezing and coughing and that thing, I firmly believe that the episode of Mythbusters where they like color their sneeze and stuff like that, and then also do the experiment to see how far it goes, even when you're trying to not spread it, should be mandatory viewing, so that people learn why you shouldn't do that, because it's good. Really astounding and I think important. I don't know. To me, at least, again, and also I want to clarify, in public spaces, if you're at home, whatever, I don't care. But if you're in public with other people,
cover your mouth at home.
Huh?
You should do it at home too.
Yeah, you should cover your mouth.
You're right. Okay, like I'm trying to not. I'm trying to cut a little bit of slack here. But like, if you're home, it's less important. But especially out in public, because I think for me, when it is in public, in addition to like the bodily sound aversion thing, for me, it's like it's just such a lack of respect for everyone else around you, and that I think is also a common thread of things that drive me insane in a way that I would call a pet peeve. It's like people doing things that are very self-centered and without any respect for their surroundings and the other people around them. Drives me up the wall.
Seems very reasonable.
I would think
you
so,
are the single person I've met who respects people around you least of all.
What? Wait, who? Me or Alex?
You.
How?
What? You hate No, I mean this in the other sense of the word.
Do they know that?
No, I think many people can probably.
She will hate it.
The other sense of the word respect.
R-E-S-P-C-T.
Very funny.
Oh my God, Amelia, I do want to hear like the other, like we don't need to record it. I want to hear like you.
I would like a list, yeah.
Come down a list of all of the things that you hate, like all of your pet peeves.
It's a lot. There's new ones every day.
They do grow.
Increasingly, the internet and social media, I should say, not the internet.
Electricity,
the
Industrial Revolution and its consequences.
It's a pet peeve of mine.
Alex, do I? Am I the last one?
You're the last one for
All right,
peevery.
brief. You can find out what my pet peeves are when the New York Times publishes them. There'll be a table of contents.
Oh, good.
No. It's like what would you? I'm curious. Like, what do you consider a pet peeve versus just
I would say
something you can't stand?
a pet peeve. Well, I would say
The
that
same thing?
you can. Those are pretty. I would say that those are very similar.
Yeah.
I would say that a pet peeve is something that a lot of people would find relatively innocuous. And not like, and not something that is. I'm trying to think of a good like. If someone said, "Oh, my pet peeve is people being like bad and dangerous drivers," I'm like, that's not a pet peeve. That's like just like being nervous about safety.
Yeah, like my pet peeve is people who shoot other people with guns.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Okay, I think
I don't think you should do that.
the things I think that drive me to like just silent, white hot frustration, not rage. Animals feel rage. You are unbalanced if you feel rage.
God.
An animal will chew off its hand when it's caught in the trap.
Yes, exactly. I can actually tolerate a pretty wide degree of like weird behavior from people. It is, I think, fundamentally like people who are like incurious about the world around them. That I just can't stand.
That's
I would extend this. Sorry.
Yeah, I would say that's one I would like have a difficult time like labeling that one as specifically a pet peeve, but like no, I'll fair continue, but like I'm just
to give more specific examples, like I like people who have at no point in their life tried to learn anything about the natural world, that just like kind of bounce, like just kind of zip, just like, oh yeah, he's like, oh yeah, zoos, like whatever, like people like, oh, a zoo is a place to take, I don't know, my annoying kids, or like just an activity, or people who don't have like opinions about art, or or people who are just like, who have never even like not even you like I can tolerate people who have like negative opinions of religion, because it's fun to have those sometimes, and then change what you believe every year. I find blind trust, kind of the attitude of blind trust in tech, a bit of a pet peeve. Is just kind of the tech mindset I find incredibly grating, and even softer if you just here's cut strip malls, just that kind of architecture, that kind of layout, like 8 lanes of highway and then flat nothing, and then ugly buildings full of cut. No, this I hate it. I feel like I'm in hell. And that's not just, and I know Amelia's glancing down because she thinks I'm talking about where she comes from, but these places exist in all states. They transcend. This is America. They transcend state boundaries. That's it. I hate them. I can't stand them.
All very
I
interesting
can't
responses.
either, to be clear. That's not what I like about my region.
I didn't say you liked them.
No, but you. Never mind.
So a pet peeve, pet aversion, or pet hate is a minor annoyance that an individual finds particularly irritating to a greater degree than the norm. I think what we may have discovered is that Alex is either like kind of placidly enjoying most things, or is just like, I hate this. And it's,
yes,
and there might not be a.
No, I really only have the two
extremes.
The two extremes. Which usually works out pretty well.
Fair enough. But so, okay. Well, we've peeved it up, and now it's time to pove it up, I guess, is the opposite of peeving. which is to say that our next question comes from Wheat, who asks, what is the most insane advertisement you saw on TV or online? Things that ended not being what you expected or funny, etc. I wrote my answer first. And I know there's one that happened recently where I was just utterly baffled. Like it was a thing where I was like, why is this being advertised? And why is it being advertised to me? And I just can't pull it from my brain. I wish I could, because it was so baffling that it was so noteworthy that I was like, I remember that happening. But unfortunately, my Swiss cheese mind doesn't remember what it was. So what I do remember, and what I can say, is that in our household for some time, while we were watching, in particular Hulu, because the Hulu version we have has ads, we were getting just like every single ad was a scent-based product of some kind. It was like deodorants, it was like total body deodorants, it was various room sprays, etc. It was just all scent-based things. And I don't know why Hulu thought we smelled bad.
What were we watching? Maybe it was what we were watching.
Maybe it was, but it was just bizarre. It was like, hey, like, can you advertise? Like, I hate advertisement all the time, no matter what, but can you at least give me some diversity in what you're like trying to shill at me? Like, why all the smells? I don't know.
The ad algorithm's like, man, you sure have this. You're on hour 4 of American Dad.
Have you smelled yourself?
How about some deodorant there, champ?
That's funny.
I had an answer written, but something actually happened today since that's funnier, which is today I got my first of a series of ads on Spotify while I was listening to a podcast. By the way, because I've watched this episode of Behind the Bastards recently, did you know that human blood is the 9th largest export of the United States?
The 9th?
Yes.
What?
Oh,
yes. Like
I didn't know that.
70%
That's cool.
of the blood transfused in the world is supplied by the United States.
My brain didn't go to transfusions.
These are the blood
Speak on
buckets.
that. And by speak on that, I mean don't.
Well,
I mean, I
think that
won't
kind
for
of
time.
it makes sense a bit. Like we've got a lot of people, and I think there is like a culture in the U.S. of like blood drives. So
Yeah, well, that's not where it comes from. That's donation. This is for-profit selling of blood.
oh,
That tracks.
Right.
Well,
Okay.
is this like those like plasma centers that pay you?
Well, I think sometimes, but usually it's prisoners because they pay extremely low amounts of money. Actually, there are laws on the books to protect the blood companies from facing any legal liability if the blood is contaminated with bloodborne diseases, because
Okay, so like just actually,
so evil.
it's one of the most evil things.
vampires.
Yes, and
Like so, there is actually a
not-
cabal of vampire.
not doing
That's
any
cool.
not doing anybody any favors. I don't think the political discourse will ever recover from this episode of Behind the Bastards, because Bill and Hillary Clinton were heavily involved in making this a thing you could do in Arkansas.
Of course they were.
Yes.
Huh.
Anyway,
Troubling.
it's one of the most baffling. We export more value of blood than coal.
Take that, Pennsylvania.
Yeah. A barrel of crude oil in 1998 cost about $13. A barrel of human blood at that point cost over $20,000.
Of course.
Per volume, it is 1,000 times more valuable than oil.
Red gold.
Right?
You
We've
can't use the.
We've got a big oil derrick up in just the middle of a strip mall in like Minnesota.
Just blood spurts out the top.
Oh God.
What's the advertisement, James?
Anyway, I was listening to a podcast recently, and by recently I mean a couple of hours ago, and I got an ad for a company, I guess one of these online companies where it's like some startup that does the old business but online, for divorce lawyers. And I was like,
really?
yes. And I was like, this is interesting. I'm not married.
But they
Why
saw you were Italian.
Yeah, they saw I was Italian. They're like, well, he's Italian and, about 30,
time.
so it's probably ready to wrap up marriage number 1. I found it just baffling that I'm like, because I mostly get ads for LASIK, which I'm like, yeah, okay, I wear glasses. A lot for BetterHelp, which is fine.
Your ass needs to be in therapy.
And then today it's like, do you need to get divorced? And I was like, no.
And also BetterHelp.
And also BetterHelp.
Well, they'll counsel you through the divorce.
Yeah. So that's what it is. Now I'm
Fair.
going to check my inbox to see if I got the invitation to check in for my flight or not. Oh, I did. Okay.
Quickly, who's next?
Amelia.
Oh, I am. Okay. I sent images in the chat in our Discord of, I think, is just what comes to mind when I think bizarre ad that I've seen on TV specifically. This was, I believe we were in Hayes. This was a couple of years ago when I was in Kansas looking at fossils, and Jacob had come with. And I remember it was like usually when I'm traveling and doing some collection stuff, I shower at night because there's just no time in the morning. I'm not a morning person, and so I don't want to wake up extra early to shower. Anyway, we got back, from dinner or whatever. I got in the shower. I came back out, and Jacob was like, "You'll never believe the commercial that was just on this local news channel. It was like for lawyers, and there was like a longhorn bull, and like it was in the hospital." And I'm like, "What are you talking about?"
Oh, local
And
lawyer
thank God
commercials are. Mwah.
the commercial came on, and it was for like injury attorneys, but they call themselves the bull attorneys, and so there's a longhorn bull like in the ad with them. And at one point I got a picture of it, thank God. There's like a guy in a hospital bed, and also the bull is there, and it's just surreal. It was so funny.
This
And,
is amazing.
it was incredible. It was really fun. And we saw it a couple times. It was great. And like I said, I think this was in Hayes, and we had just come from Oakley, which is very, very, like, Hayes is a small town, but like Oakley was very, very small. And it was also just a lot of like very silly Western Plains American kind of silly things, like in advertisements and things. But that's the one that stands out to me. Like, I think the other thing, like, it's not really a news or like a television advertisement. I'm forgetting at this point what the original question asked, but I thought for some reason it was like an ad I've seen. But it's about ads. There's a stretch of highway if you live in Wisconsin, or you've driven this way to get up north. There's a stretch of 41, US 41, the big highway, north-south highway that kind of follows the lake, but a little bit off. Doesn't matter. There's a stretch of it just before Oshkosh that historically there's a stretch of like 8 billboards. I want to say there's about 8 of them. 7 out of the 8 are always for the sex shop. Like, there's several sex shops in the area, and 7 out of the 8 of them are always for a sex shop. And then dead center of all of them is always like a "what would Jesus think of porn" billboard. And then it just continues with it. It's just always makes me laugh because it's like it changes. Like, they do update there, but it's always that pattern of like 8 or 9 billboards for a sex shop, and then dead in the center there's like one like pro Jesus, whatever, what be faithful kind of billboard, and then it continues with the sex shops. And like in recent years the sex shops like have picked up on that, I think, and like have kind of amped up their own like billboards. It's fun. It's a great little 30 seconds of highway when you're trying to go north.
Well, whose turn is it?
Yours.
Yours.
Believe it or not.
Oh. Is it really?
Mhm.
Yeah.
Well, hold on. I'm looking up something, which is a pronunciation, which I was going to say, but I just couldn't remember how to say it, which is that Amelia. The answer to those billboards question is he would be fine with it because he saw all this future, like he saw all the sins of humanity across the time when he was meditating in the garden of, I'm not even going to try. It starts with a G, Gethsemane, whatever. Anyway, doesn't matter. Advertising is worship at the feet of Baal and Mammon, and an evil and profane act. That being said, I do have some favorites. Things that, I mean, like, I'm constantly shocked by how bad most advertising is. And I'm like, who is this appealing to? Every AI ad seems designed to piss me off. But sometimes I'm surprised by an advertisement in a kind of a fun way, where they get me. I'm like, ooh, they got me. One was when Tim Heidecker and Eric Wareheim, they did a series of ads for for like a mattress,
Oh yeah.
the
Purple
Purple Mattress
mattress.
Company. And the first time I saw that was on YouTube, and I just thought they did a funny sketch about the Sunday Scaries. And I'm like, oh, this is like a funny thing. And then I saw it as an ad before something, and I couldn't believe it. I'm like, that's awesome. That's very funny. But I'm gonna have to go local because it's less evil than mass advertising. My favorite local advertiser is the guy who does the radio ads for northeastkia.com.
Yes. You've showed me these.
You can look him up on YouTube. Someone has posted and he's branched out. Now he does like ad readings for law firms in the tri-state area. I've only heard him in New York and Connecticut thus far, but this guy, he knows how to command an audience. The northeastkia.com ones are the great because he'll like paint a story. He's like, oh, your wife has left you. You need a new car. You got to get to your job. One of my favorite refrains in one of his ads is, if we can't get you approved, God couldn't get you approved. northeastkia.com. It's fantastic. If I ever wanted to buy a Kia, I'd go buy it from the shop that this man was advertising. But I also live in New Haven, and I would like a car that can't be broken into as easily. That's it. Those are just fun ads I remember seeing
Those are good.
or hearing with my ears. Oh, and sorry. Because I am an old person, I guess. In addition, I do listen to the radio because my brother got sand in my aux cord for the Volvo I drive, and so now I just can't plug my phone in to listen to music, and the Bluetooth is shot. I listen to the radio.
Alex, have you never done the tried and true go to the preparator and be like, hi, you have tools to fix this exact problem. Can you clean my phone out?
It's not the phone.
It's the stereo in the car.
Oh. Never mind.
It is. Don't worry. I've tried. It's bad. So I listen to the radio. And so that's where obviously I hear the northeastkia.com ads, and for Major World as well. Also very good.
When I was doing my master's here at Stony Brook, before I was hired here at Stony Brook, I used to, I drove a car that did not have an aux cord. And so I listened to quite a lot of Connecticut radio because I would get it right over the sound.
It's pretty bad.
It wasn't great. I listened to a lot of 95.9 The Fox.
95.9 The Fox?
Fairfield County's only classic rock.
Great. Only, yeah. Oh, no. There's a radio station, I think it's 98.5, that plays old radio serials from the 30s and 50s on the weekends for like 4 hours.
Oh, that's good.
But they also play the ads. They just they pick up the entire recording. And so like they'll play, actually this is very timely because he like died 2 days ago. But the last family gathering I had with my great uncle, like I never have anything to talk to him about. Because he's old. And I was just like, wait a second. I need to know if this man ever bought or ate Kellogg's Pep. A defunct cereal I heard an old ad for during a reading of The Shadow. And he was like, yeah, it was really good. And I'm like, awesome. That was it. That was the conversation we had.
And he died 2 days ago?
Yeah, they think carbon monoxide poisoning.
Oh.
It's like 86, but still a surprise.
Alex, it feels like members of your family have been dying at an accelerated rate in these last couple of years.
I mean, I think they're just getting old.
No, I think it's probably just that you had a lot of older relatives, but
yes,
yeah,
perhaps.
I feel like it's been a basically
close
yearly
positive relationship with most of my family. So
well, that'll do it.
No, I'm joking, but yeah, so old timey funny ads too, or like one which was a PSA, which is like, hey kids, don't ride on the back of your friend's bike. You'll get hit by it. You'll fall off and die, which is like a funny thing to think about because when you think about like Martin Scorsese movies set in like the 30s, you see like the like the little kid like hanging on the back of his friend's bike going down the street. I'm like, oh, I guess that was just like
That was the thing people just did a lot.
yeah, and they apparently
Did it enough to warrant a PSA
about not dying. Kids, don't run out into the street. You'll get hit by a car. Actual PSA.
Well, Alex, there was a hanging sign in New Haven the first year I moved here by the hospital that said "Stop at red lights." So we haven't advanced that much as a society.
That's a regional specialty.
That's true. Scott, any advertisements that stand out for you? You didn't have one written down, so we.
Yeah, this is something that like I'm realizing I haven't like given this much thought to ads in ages. Like I don't even have like many recent ones that stand out to me as particularly good or particularly bad. I'll say one when we're not recording that still haunts my memories. But speaking of, I guess the local ad that has come into my mind the most, in recent years is one that I think was famously taken down a little while ago. It was in, I want to say Somerville, where there was a place called the Mayflower Poultry Company had a very famous sign out front that just had a big yellow chicken on it that just said live poultry fresh killed. and the fresh was in like a script font, and like it's very funny. It's just such a wild thing to have on there. Is like, believe me, we killed these freshly.
Yeah,
just very funny. It's a very good sign. It's a historic one. It like you could buy shirts. Like there's that map store that I took you to, Dalton, when you visited. You can buy a T-shirt there that says live poultry fresh killed. It's great.
I would like to come back to the map store.
Yes.
God, that's so cool.
Yeah. But yeah, I guess the only other things I can think of are like the targeted ads that I get on like Instagram and stuff. I think are some of the funniest things because they are bonkers sometimes. I remember one time I got a Walmart targeted ad, but it was for like spike strips and caltrops. And I'm like, one, you can buy those at Target or at Walmart, and two, why do you think I need these?
The Walmart targeted ads always have the wildest items, and I'm like, I've never once seen this sold in a Walmart, and would never expect to buy this at a Walmart.
Yeah.
And now we come, folks, to our final question of the evening.
Yay!
No, but I was having so much fun.
I'm so happy I get to get up in 3.5 hours.
Oh my god!
Why is it that when any of us have something we have to do, it invariably makes the Q&A take 3 hours to record?
I don't know.
It probably would have been better to have not mentioned this at all.
I
Probably.
think in the future I won't anymore.
Life Finds a Way asks us, as you all tend to see life through the rise and fall of organisms over time, what is your opinion of human efforts to preserve endangered species, especially ones that seem to be near the end of their timelines, giant pandas, for example? The answer that I have written down, which I think I'm just going to read verbatim and not say much else for the sake of time. I don't think I have a concrete view on this really, because I kind of oscillate between a potentially grim sense of pragmatism and a view that all life is sacred. So I think in some sense there's a very human virtue of trying to save parts of the natural world, especially ones that we think that like we ascribe value to. And there's no perfect way to prioritize how conservation efforts actually get distributed around the world. For example, right, I can't help but think there's not tremendous mathematical benefits if you're trying to like weigh the what amount of effort is going to save the maximum amount of like species, for example. If we want to make the calculus that. I don't think there's tremendous mathematical benefits to put efforts on conserving the tuatara, but I'm deeply personally invested in the conservation of the tuatara, and I think it should be a priority. And I don't think there's really a way around that. Like I think, I mean, it kind of comes down to that we want to remove ourselves from the natural world and like try to be stewards of it without being participants in it, and that's impossible. And like the human preference and ideas of what's important that aren't purely based off of some kind of number, but are based off of, I think this animal is important because it represents the last of a very ancient line. I think that this animal is important because it's cute. I think this animal is important because we have a strong sense of national identity with it. Like those are like they're all equally valid reasons for wanting to preserve a life form. So that's my take.
Yeah, I mean, I mostly agree with Dalton. I think like just to phrase it kind of differently, like in the way that I think about it is like there has to be some kind of triage probably because we can't do everything and protect everything. There is also a degree to which conservation is kind of an easy question for many animals, in that like if you stop immediately killing them and give them enough habitat space, they tend to recover. Not all of them do, but if you like in a large part just making protected lands is most of the issue. Like you don't need to do incredibly intensive captive breeding except if the like species is already on the brink of extinction, like giant panda, the scimitar horned oryx, things like that were like there are like maybe a handful left in the world. That's different. But if it's something like most African like savanna species, like elephants just need space. And that's kind of another thing that I think about, which is something that it seems that many people on both like kind of sides of this don't like, I think for different reasons, is like, what if we give up on having natural ecosystems and just focus on preserving the species elsewhere? Like many African megafauna now have endemic populations, like, or not endemic, I guess, technically, but like introduced populations in Texas and Mexico and Arizona. Like they're doing fine. People have imported them for like captive big game hunting. They've now established populations in those areas. So you'll see like nilgai and gemsbok and I think zebra and all of these things where they never
Yeah.
used to live.
Yeah, Cyrus, the invertebrate fossil preparator, gave a talk last week about his time out at White Sands.
Yeah.
Back when he used to work there, and they had a gemsbok herd, and he was like, it was one of the most surreal things that like the couple of times I saw them, of just be like driving around White Sands and just like, you're
Right.
not supposed to be here.
Right, and I mean they do fine. So, like, not that any particular region on Earth is less likely to have a disaster, but if you're trying to spread risk and give them more area, it's like, okay, well, like quite a lot of Africa is now national parks and like animal preserves, which is great. If you need more space for lions and elephants and everything, it's like, I don't know, they'd probably do fine in Texas or Oklahoma or Spain or parts of Asia. Like that could be a way to approach these things where it's less economically costly. But I think it raises a lot of questions of like, are we trying to preserve the ecosystem or the species? And does the ecosystem even still exist? And I'd argue in some ways it does not. And it's just it's difficult on a moral level. I don't have a very concrete answer on that, but it's something that is probably going to be something we have to start thinking about if this is an area where we want to keep going. And we, just interesting. Not a lot of easy answers, but I think it's important to preserve species. And it's something that should be like celebrated as a part of like the human experience. Like, I don't know, the fact that we are an animal species that can actually preserve other species, like save them from extinction, it is like one of the coolest things about being human. Right. Just like this was actually a point Paul Sereno brought up in his keynote talk at PaleoFest that Amelia and I saw recently. It was like, we're the only animals that look backward. Right. This is like, and it is something I've thought of as well, but I really like the way he phrased it, which is like the fact that we even do paleontology is like one of the most fundamental aspects of the human condition. Like no other animal comprehends that it has a past like that. Even the most intelligent ones don't understand the context of what they live in like that. And it's just like, this should be celebrated as a fundamental aspect of what makes us people. Which is, I think, very inspiring.
Yeah. Amelia, your thoughts on this?
I think I basically agree with the both of you that like there's a lot of nuance and it's hard to give a blanket answer to a question like that. Like in some, I don't know, because I want to say like it's like what I was going to say was like, yeah, in some cases maybe it's a waste of money, but a define waste, like Dalton was saying, like it's so subjective, like the reasons that you can want to save something. And like I guess fundamentally my opinion is if you have the resources to do it, Godspeed. Like we've had, I don't know that we've had this conversation in a recording before, but I know for other related topics, we've had a conversation about whether or not certain scientific endeavors are a waste of money. That money could be going towards saving endangered species that have an impact on the environment or something like that. And like I don't know, the way I see it is like that money wouldn't go to those things though. Like the people that are funding these things are doing it like to use pandas as an example, right? If pandas didn't exist, it's not like the people funding that would put their money elsewhere. They're funding that because they like pandas. And I think that's okay. Like we can't assume that the people who are funding animals that might not be valuable or profitable or however you want to say it, I don't really know. They're not necessarily going to then fund something else just because that animal doesn't exist anymore. They were doing that and supporting that because they cared about it for whatever reason. So yeah, no, in short, it's complicated. Like it for my own personal stuff, like it just depends on the situation, depends on the animal, depends on the resources. But ultimately, I don't think it's ever a waste because that money and those resources would not be going to anything else anyway. Like it's just not how that kind of philanthropy or whatever. You know what I'm trying to say?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. It's just not how it works. Like if that's those. It's being supported because people care about that thing. It's not taking money from anywhere else.
Who hasn't answered this question?
You and Scott.
I don't have an answer to it besides what we've already talked about.
That's fair.
Okay.
I don't have particularly strong feelings about this. Just kidding. Obviously. I think it's an effort that is almost certainly doomed to failure. And thus imperative that we undertake it. It's, and I think James covered this mostly, and cool quote by Paul Sereno. But yeah, like I'm not interested in like participating in like a human culture that does not value like this attempt. Like yeah, even if it's fate, it's like, oh no, well, you know, it just wouldn't be so like fundamentally, I think the conservation issue is a symptom of a larger problem, which I'm not going to get into right now. But it sounds like restractive rapidalism, or just really resource extraction in general, which is being done one way, and maybe it could be done in a better way. Because James is right. Like fundamentally, like the best way to help a lot of most, like 90% of these species, is just to pull back a little bit.
Just stop killing them. It's amazing how that works.
Give them back a little room, and maybe even you can rescue these ecosystems. But I mean, my personal, deeply held belief is that absolutely none of these private sector solutions will work or do anything, and very few of these middling, mealy mouth government pursuits will do anything either. Like this is you kind of have to dig this thing out at the root, which is why I think fundamentally it won't work. But we should try anyway.
It also can't succeed forever. Like
no, yeah,
well, no. But
eventually,
I would like it when it implodes there to be something left.
No, yeah, no. I see it as like, I know I've had chats with James about this in the past, of the like our perspective as paleontologists kind of like takes things to the temporal extreme of like hypothetically, let's say that we are like very successful in preserving species. Like, does that mean that like as long as humans are here, if we are also preserving us as a species, that the biosphere does not change? That it's just like everything is locked in stasis?
right.
And it's like one,
well, no, and I think
that isn't gonna happen, and two, like I don't know, it's something to think about. Make a sci-fi novel about it.
But I think the hands-off step back approach does not require that. It's
Mhm.
just you let it develop, right? Like eventually you might be like, all right, well, this thing's gone locally extinct, or like the range on this thing's changed, or this thing's like I like personally don't particularly care in that case. It is just like the obvious like habitat restriction, hunting, displacement, or like that kind of stuff where I'm like, just stop.
Yeah.
And then let the system chug along. Chug.
But I mean, what I meant by that is more like eventually the species will go extinct. Like,
Yes.
Yeah, of
right.
course.
And I mean, I've seen people say this kind of stuff. I say seen because it's mostly been on social media, which is where all intelligent discussions happen. But like people being like, well, why would we even like bother trying to preserve these things? They're just going to go extinct anyway. And
Well,
it's
that's
like,
kind of what the question is getting at.
right.
Mhm.
And it's like, okay, why does medicine exist? You will die. Except if you're me, in which case that won't
Right.
happen because I'm built different.
Never.
But like we all will die one day, except me. And so therefore, why do you ever go to the doctor? Because
Except
you're
you.
just prolonging the inevitable. Like, why do they do CPR on you? You died. Like, you're going to die anyway. Why would you try to like prolong your life? It's just prolonging the inevitable. And it's like, that's such a stupid and reductive nihilistic way to look at things. Like,
Yes.
you know, and
Mhm.
I'm not saying that dear patron who asked this is thinking about it that way.
No, I
It
don't
is-
think they are.
Right. And I mean, there is a real sense of like, okay, well, if Tuatara was going to go extinct at some point, I don't think it's an invalid question to say like, why does it have to not go extinct now? Right. I would also say I don't want to just let it go, especially when we know it's our fault that it's going extinct.
Mm-hmm.
But like, I think you can simultaneously hold, yes, the ultimate destiny of all species is extinction, in the same way that the ultimate destiny of all living things, except for me, is death. We can simultaneously understand that and also say, yes, but we don't want to let that happen before it has to.
Mhm.
Right. I think the interesting
Yeah.
question is like in relation to what Scott said in Alex's response. Like if we make a natural preserve for like lions and all African megafauna, and the lion population just starts crashing out and they are going to die, at that point, do we let it happen, or do we say like and say like we've done everything we can? There's not helping them. There's some disease that's running a rampage through the population and they can't survive it. Or are we going to start like darting them and treating them and developing a vaccine to keep them alive and all of that? And I think that's a more interesting question of like, is it that we're not willing to let the species go, or as long as we've pulled back and we know it's not our fault in all caps, then it's okay. It sounds to me like, Alex, you're more of the second persuasion, but I think many people would be more of the first.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and I'd be willing to hear cultural arguments once we're at that point where it's like, hey, you know, this is like an important animal to us culturally, or like something like that, like a country. I'm like, okay, all right,
Yeah.
then like we'll set some money aside for this program,
Right.
or whatever.
And I mean, I think ultimately, like, anytime anyone would want to do something like that, I'm for it. Like, at all. It's just like, I don't like, you're trying to keep something alive and like perceived, and it's very cool. Like, we're the only, like,
Yeah.
Earth doesn't care that it's
care.
gone. We care that it's gone. Right. And as long as we do, I think we should do something about it. Like, it's, you know, it's not quite, and I know Alex doesn't like this per se, but like, yes, the indomitable like human spirit is not going to propel us to infinity, but as a concept, like, that is the pursuit of it, right? Is that like it's our fault, it's nature's fault, but we see something happening and we're like, we don't want this to happen, and we at least try to stop it.
Right.
Like, that's important to do as a sentient life form.
Yeah, I mean, I agree. I mean, there's just a lot of interesting ethical questions here.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I think that's a good answer. Also, friendly reminder to our viewers: you can help.
You can.
You can help by getting involved
Yes.
and organizing and doing stuff like that, and not the thing that I said before that was cut. We believe in you, viewers.
it is a world where you can help.
Yes.
And
You can help, and you should try to help. Remember, nihilism is for cowards. Everything is there. The nihilists are mostly right, except in their final calculation. Like they're fixed on
Well,
the nature of the universe isn't wrong,
they're-
but their
they're
assessment is wrong.
They're stuck in the stage of when you're 8 years old and you learn that someday the sun will explode.
Yes.
Yeah, exactly.
And they didn't get to be 9 years old and be like, okay, who cares?
right.
Yeah, exactly.
Right.
It's like, all right, whatever. Don't get stuck there. You're not particularly thoughtful. I know you think you are. We've all been stuck there at some point, and we thought we were very smart.
And you're very smart.
You're not. Move on. Get involved. Get some. Maybe it's making a better Earth for someone. Maybe it's something like that.
I'm
Maybe it's
intervening.
thanking our patrons.
We have to thank our patrons.
Thank you.
Thank you to insert nickname Benjamin Seepser, Christopher Bellis Jones, Aaron Anderson, Adamolos, Blacklight Virus, Black Spectral Pig, Brett Booth, Camphibia, Chaotic Kaiju, Dinodom, Keenan Taylor's Tales of Chimere, Kevin Preem, King Zasshu, Life Finds a Way, Noah Riccio, Resty HBK, Squat Pump, The Wigster, Touch Connors, Wanderer, Wheat, Mrs. Website, Baryonyx, and You've, who comes in
Whoa.
after Wheat.
Whoa.
Thank you, You've. You really threw off my rhythm here.
That's wild.
Yes.
Dun, dun, dun.
Thank
Anyway.
you all very much.
Yes.
And we'll see you next time.
Indeed.
We'll see you
When we
next time
talk
on the
about
Skeleton
something.
Crew.
Indeed. Absolutely. See you guys.
See ya.
Bye.
Bye.